standing on the corner swapping, just driving some of the hottest cars New York has ever seen. From dropping some of the hottest voices rappers ever heard. From the ghost spot with the smoke, fleeing the murder scene, you know me well. From nightmares of a lonely cell, my only hell. But since when y'all brothers know me to fail? Heck no, we're all my brothers with the rubber grips for shots. And if you with me, mama, rub on your tits and whatnot. I'm from the school of the hard knocks, you must not. That outside is violate our boxing in my plot. Let's stick up the world and split it 50-50, Let's take the dough and stay real taking, And set the Chris and get pissy, flowing beneath like the memory of my brother Biggie, baby. You know it's hell when I come through. The life and times of Sean Carter, brother, volume 2. Y'all brothers get ready. It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life. It's the hard knock life for us. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life.
Hello, everybody. Glad to be back with you guys. I know I've been away for a while. Sometimes, as the saying goes, there's just not enough rocks. We'll just leave it at that. All right. So what we're going to do now is start off with the first comment of the day. But actually, before we do that, let's just recognize Tim Shea. He says, hey, 589th. He's been a member for 8 months. And you know what? You deserve to get recognition. So thank you so much for your support. Good times are bad, right? You guys know how it goes. Really appreciate you, Tim. Thank you so much, man. All right. And you are the first comment of the day. Tim Shea says, hey, 589th, represent Mr. Tim Shea, Mayor of Crypto in the house, Crypto Commissioner. Good to have you, man. Representing the XRP Army, fellow constituents. Dennis Lil's in the house. Good to see you as well, man. How's it going, Francisco? All right. Jim Miller's back. He says, hello, everyone. Hello, hello. He's waving, but let's also have you guys smash the like. I know it's been a while, but it does trigger the X and YouTube algorithm. Okay? It's free. It doesn't cost you nothing. You know the drill. All right? All right. Let's also welcome April Cornwell in the house. She says, hey, hey, hey. Hey, hey, hey. Max and friends. Good to see you, April. Nice smile. Great avatar. All right. Crypto Homes 777 in the house. Welcome back, man. I've seen you on some other channels that, you know, everybody's part of and so on. So it's good you're helping support your fellow community people. HTTR all day. Been waiting for some more Quant news from you, brother. Appreciate you, fam. All right. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate you too. Thank you. All right. Anthony Hall. He says, present. Oh, okay. Like you're here for class or something. That's cool. Well, welcome, man. Glad to have you back. And we're also going to welcome the one and only Boomer for Sooner. You know? Good to see you, Boomer. Yes, hello there. Thank you. Boom. All right. Jack Thompson, good to talk to you the other day. He says, crypto wealth and perfect health to all. Shalom to all cryptonaires. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, man. We're going to start here in a little bit. Just going to welcome a few more of you guys. Brittany's in the house. Hey, Brittany. Good to see you. Good to see you. I had to let you and Mr. Squid know about when I get that VR headset. I was talking to Will Fix. You know, we were wanting to play that Medal of Honor Above and Beyond. So, yeah. And, you know, get a VR headset's a lot less expensive compared to buying like a $3,000, you know, super computer, right, for gaming. All right, let's go further down also, see what else you guys have. We have Sancho's I9. Bring on the facts, brother. Thanks, man. I'll try to do that. But welcome, welcome. We also got Elon Musk, also a member for 8 months. Let's go. Big news today. Quant, every day is one day closer to the top. Defeat the FUD. Let's go. Thank you, man. Good to see you in the house. Mr. Michael Cornwell. Elon Muff. Kevin Kiesler, Mad Max, you have been hiding, sir. I have been hiding. Just sometimes a little, real life, can, do its thing. Everybody needs a break once in a while. All right, let's see here. Kebmo, I always thought you and Kevin were the same guy for some reason. Well, go figure. How about that? There's what's his name? Also, there is Menace, and there's another Menace. All right, we talked about this before. So anyway, welcome back. Glad to have you on X. It's gonna welcome just a couple more of you guys. Old school crypto Jedi in the house. Good to see you. OG Crypto. Good to see you. Lots of good people here tonight. That's awesome. Let's go. Corey B-Bay, man. Hey, man. Corey, good to see you. All right. What we're going to do now is going to start things off, actually, with the weekend update. It's been a while since I've been with you guys. On a live, it's been a week and a half. And then before that, it was the week before that with, our fellow brother, Rue Black. All right. So that's like twice in a couple, 2.5 weeks. So you guys haven't seen me in a while. Well, you guys who are been part of the community for a while, you understand that I give you the investor place coverage. And with that investor place coverage, sometimes it's bullish and sometimes it's not. This time it is bullish. So we're going to get into the weekend update. This is from Saturday. I know it's Monday now. Let's check it out. Smash the like. It's not going to be super long. After that, take a break, get back into the comments, and then give you the other big news in regards to Quant. Now, I want to state this. In the past, when I found some things, Quant Papa found some things and so on, the big news about the Overledger and so on, the BIS and Bank of England, it's like, man, what happened to going live with that info and then getting informed, take some of that stuff down? Well, a little bit of bad news. Before this broadcast, I don't know if you guys noticed, a couple minutes before the broadcast started, I noticed that some of the links are no longer available. And I thought that was really interesting. Now, I don't know what the heck's going on with that. I have to catch up with Quant Papa in regards to that. But at least half of the research has been rugged before I went live on this broadcast. And you guys know I'm not going to BS you when it comes to that. But this has happened once before. I'll have to find out why that is. But for all the other parts, it's still going to be a solid outline, and I'm going to try my best to work with what I got. So hopefully that doesn't disappoint you guys. Stick around for it. Let's get into the investor place coverage nonetheless, because you know what? It is summertime. It is June, and we need to get some of these updates. Is it really bullish? What does the investor place have? Well, check it out for yourself. Here it is. And this was basically published on Saturday, still valid for today. What is it? Here it is. Let's full screen it. So it is that weekly update. I call it a weekend update in reality. The whole market's been down, as you guys know, but ampish bull signals emerged for a crypto summer surge. Now, basically it's like this. Remember how we talked about BTC basically going to 100K, and investor place didn't say it's a matter of oh, they think it might. It was just more like, yeah, it's going to happen, right? Follow the cycles. Here's why. Let's elaborate a little bit more on why, okay? So I'm going to full screen this just in case you're Boomer Effing Sooner sitting on his couch with his dog Monica. Shout out to Monica, the dog. June 8th, 2024 comes from Charlie Schramm, Luke Lango. They've been calling it, that is true, for a summer surge higher across the crypto markets, wherein Bitcoin will soar to 100K, and when position, altcoins will rally even more. These two guys are not just, they're not like influencers or anything like that. You got to keep in mind, this guy, Luke Lango, has been one of the top stock pickers for a long time. And he's been into this whole thing of crypto for multiple cycles. Same with Charlie Schramm. This guy's part of the Bitcoin Foundation. He invested into BTC when it was $5. He's also credited being the first ever miner for a GPU. Look it up. All right, here it is. They are still saying that BTC will soar to 100K and be well positioned in itself, or it's just so altcoins will be, rallying even more. More of us are more excited about this, but I'm going to show you some data. They think that the rally got underway this past week, as in last week. Not only did the crypto markets push higher this past week, but multiple fundamental and technical signals emerged that suggest cryptos are about to pick up steam in a big way. Now, I want to state this real quick. What have you guys been doing while I've been gone? All right. I don't mean this in a bad way, but what I'm saying is, like, are you giving into the FUD? Are you giving into the whole thing of like, oh, Max covered Luxo. Luxo's at all-time lows. Shoot, man, that is probably like one of the best opportunities ever. Because if you think about it, weren't we only getting opportunities like that back in crypto winter? This is no longer crypto winter, but there's still some particular altcoins that are crazy, still have crazy sales. Swift coin technically still on sale. Let's look at Stronghold, some of these other ones. Treat those like you treated JASMY in the past. Not financial advice, but that's what I'm personally doing, right? So I want to get more into this. You'll see some things. And you know what? They even reference JASMY on here, which is kind of cool. They pointed out, as you can see here, that JASMY was up quite a bit, right? So, it's not JASMY night. And later on this week, we'll get back into covering JASMY. But tonight definitely is QNT. Now, I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint, okay, before we move further. You want to stick around for the QNT segment because we're going to be talking about some things like the digital dollar. And that sounds absolutely nuts. But Quant, again, stick around. So this update, I don't want to get into all these coins because some of you guys are into this and, you're doing well. And I saw that, JASMY was up to well over 4 cents for a while and taking a dip back. But it's the research, guys. I'm not the only one who does it. They do it too. It suggests that this is big. We should see even more bullish action and how it's going to turn into an all-out rally in the coming weeks. Yeah, you read that right. Coming weeks. Will they get it right again? Now, they've been right quite a few times. These guys are not influencers, okay? This is actual, like, a company, if you will, that focuses on, like, top picks, and they've been doing this for a while. Multiple cycles and so on. You can look them up. Price momentum. They say that BTC posted its first 5-day win streak this past week since early March 2024. I don't know if you guys remember this, but we've been following this. Typically, whenever BTC posts its first 5-day win streak in a few months, it marks the beginning of a crypto rally, a big one, a big crypto rally. Take a look at the following chart. We cite charts. They always come from Bloomberg. But it's the beginning of a big crypto rally, and basically speaking, it illustrates the relationship between BTC's winning streaks and its performance. Now, here it is. And it points out, I should say, how this streak happened. And, it's worth pointing out. Okay? So when we go further down, it talks about the inflows. And they pointed out that last week, investors had been pouring into BTC, those ETFs. So everybody's talking about ETFs. Maybe you get tired here about ETFs. You want to hear more about the altcoins. But the point is, they kept pouring in this last week. Inflows into those ETFs have now been positive for a record 18 straight days. That's worth pointing out. The underlying buying pressure into cryptos right now is relentless. See the chart. Well, let's do that. And basically, it's the daily net flow for Bitcoin's 11 ETFs, right? Some of you guys obviously have seen more than enough info about it, but it's US Bitcoin ETFs, the longest streak on daily inflow, okay? Again, cited from Bloomberg. You can kind of see how that works. All right. The third point they're making is that it's business activity, and some of these reports showed that Kraken, some of you guys do some trading on Kraken. I don't, but to each his own. They pointed out that they're at the final round of 100 million of potential IPO within the next year. And even Robinhood, which, let's face it, a lot of us when we're new to crypto, we came off that boat of Robinhood, right? Fresh off the boat, wet behind the ears. But Robinhood even bought a global crypto exchange, which was Bitstamp, for $200 million in cash. Now, where does this leave us? Well, it leaves us with analyzing macroeconomic, the bigger picture, but it's paying attention to what's going on in the U.S. economy, paying attention to what's going on with unemployment, paying attention to what's going on with inflation, right? All of these things, like the labor market. So it says here they have strong technical conditions, but BTC soared above its March 2024 resistance downtrend line this past week. And with that said, guys, if you pay attention to this, I know a lot of you guys do, it's all about this whole thing of that January 2023 support uptrend line. Now, if you guys remember what happened right after that? January 2023. Some people pointed out that this was a start of like an actual bull run, where people won't like that or not. I don't know if he's here tonight, but Legrand Commission pointed out some of this stuff. And as we got further into more and more months of the calendar year, it was like, yeah, technically speaking, if you look at BTC, it was up like, I think by the halfway mark of 2023, it was like up like 70, 80%. What about where we're at now, right? So with that said, that is a point to always reference. And the other thing to point out is that BTC traded above 20, 50, 100, and even 200-day moving averages with an improving MACD and stable RSI. Now, they always look at data. You got to keep in mind Luke Lango, hired by the Dodgers and the 76ers back in the day to look specifically at data. So I listened to this guy. He's one of two guys doing this report. I'm willing to bet him on the technical analysis, but he states that BTC looks technically primed for a big jump to 100K this summer. We're already in summer. So is this going to happen within the next few weeks? Is it going to happen within the next few months? I'm leaning towards that it's either one or the other, and I don't care if it's in the next few weeks or the next few months. I need to make sure I recognize what's on sale on my watch list. Do you have a watch list? I always ask you guys that. So here's the chart real quick, and I think you guys can see this. And again, if that doesn't look all bullish as all hell, I don't know what to say. I mean, some of you guys really do follow this, and some of you guys maybe this is Greek to you. But it's the timing. And this, man, I mean, if you follow cycles, this looks really, really impressive. All right, why is that? It's because, historically speaking, BTC's big rally in a halving cycle doesn't usually start until 2 months after the actual halving date. We are rapidly approaching that 2-month date right now. Wow. Wow. Are we not paying attention to some of this stuff? I mean, at the end of the day, it's referencing the past to give you an idea of where we're at with the current cycle. What it shows is mind-blowing. How so? I'm going to zoom in a little bit more about this. This is good stuff. So you're going to see here as well, white line represents us. And I'll get into that here in a second. Fourth halving occurred mid-April, coming into mid-June, which was right around the corner, guys, like what, another week or so? BTC started to rally significantly right now. It could be historically consistent with behavior in previous halving cycles. Do we have anything to reference? Yes, we do. Here's the answer on your screen. I'm going to leave this up for a second. Why so? Again, look at that white line. That represents the now. If you're wondering what represents the previous cycle, it's the orange. Okay? So the orange is really interesting. I should say orange actually is not last cycle, the one before that. So blue is actually the last cycle. Okay? So the point is this. Check out the white where we're at now, and you can even see that for the most part, we have momentum that even matches the cycle before last cycle, and somewhat even matches what you see with last bull run 2020 to 2021. Okay? That's worth pointing out. In the green states that BTC starts to rally 6/12/2024. We're not even to that date yet. Now, you know, maybe some people feel as though there's going to be doom and gloom. A lot could happen. But they think that the bulk of evidence strongly suggests that cryptos are ready to rally in a big way over the next few months. They have this whole thing of this 5-day winning streak. They have this whole thing of the 18 consecutive days of Bitcoin ETF inflows. And most importantly, they're talking about this whole thing of initial public offerings and some big crypto mergers and acquisitions. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw, for example, Jesse's coverage, KIR Finance. Some other guys talking about it. You know, Fetch, Ocean Protocol, some of these other big name ones. Was it Kashi, I can't remember all the names, but big names in AI coming together on one brand, and that's going to end up being one coin. So there is a lot of these mergers going on. The last part I want to get into before we take a little break and get back into the comments is, again, improving macros. The whole thing of seeing favorable timing. So they feel very bullish on this. I feel very bullish on this. And I thought, nonetheless, I would share this with you. But again, your takeaway literally should be this. Why? Because you can look it up as, for yourself. And you will see, kind of like Warren G back in the day. Do you see what I see? Not every day is Warren G, but every day is looking at BTC, right? Not trying to make a rhyme, but that kind of came out as a rhyme anyway. So that's interesting, right? We're going to leave that on the screen for a bit. We're going to get back in the comments. Smash the like. After we get into the comments, read some questions and so on, we'll get to the BTC coverage. We'll get into the Quant coverage, okay? So let's check out who is next on the list for some of the coverage. And let me see. All right. Everybody's just kind of saying hello to each other. That's always a good thing. .biz says, let's go. Yamaha Pacifica. Hey. Familiar faces in the house. Good to see that. GG, Digital G, what up, man? Good to see you as well. Got some pretty decent numbers tonight, considering that I've had a long absence. So 128. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. All right. Stefan Echo, hey, man. Welcome back. Good to see you. All right. Let's read this about from, Boomer F and Sooner. Monica is eagerly waiting the moist news of the day. Oh, jeez. All right. Don Hemmerling. Hey there, everyone. Well, hello, Don Hemmerling from HPC. Welcome. Always welcome newcomers, guys. And let's see here. Welcome, Don, to the chat. Oh, this is the guy you were always bragging about. So, all right. I'm somewhat familiar. I'm telling on, Jack, So, hey, welcome. That's cool. Anthony, welcome. Hey, Max, missed. Nice to be missed. It's just sometimes real life can, screw with you, That's why I give you guys that little thing of like Forrest Gump. Sometimes there's just not enough rocks, right? That's where it's at. All right. We're going to go further down. Hump Not Dump is in the house, aka Badir, crypto winner. You got to change it to Hump Not Dump, obviously, because we're not in crypto winner anymore. Good to see you, man. Finally, crypto is dead. Are you anti-crypto? Maybe you are, but we welcome you nonetheless. All right, we're going to go further down. Check out what other comments you got. This is a good comment. I like seeing good comments that's on topic. BTC cycle is not the same as the other cycles. Therefore, the past isn't an indicator. ETFs change the cycle and bull. We just need BTC dominance to fall. Well, I get that, but still, we have to recognize having events and so on. And, at the end of the day, we have to have something. Otherwise, we're just doing, I think this is going to happen. I think this is going to happen. I mean, like a Ballarama guy or something. I don't know. Nothing against those guys, but you know what I'm saying. All right. You're checking in from New Jersey? Wow. Well, I have a funny expression here, which is, go back to Jersey, you bum. Anyway, you're not a bum. Anyway. All right. Let's read this from Dennis Lil. Super bullish to see the new Texas Stock Exchange tokenization to give New York Stock Exchange a run for its money. That does sound good, man. Interesting. You guys going to see that? I won't be here tomorrow with you guys. Just give you a heads up. If you're expecting a show tomorrow, there won't be a show tomorrow. Probably one after that. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure. Well, let me double check. Hold on. Let me see something. Let me check the schedule real quick. There's a chance. There is a chance. Well, I guess I will be here with you guys tomorrow. So it'll be Wednesday that I won't be here with you guys. Why won't I be here with you guys on Wednesday? Because it's game 3 of the NBA Finals. I want to see that, and it kind of conflicts, right? Well, why don't you do it earlier in the day? Because I work multiple jobs. So that's how it goes. Anyway. All right, let's go further down. Stump Rider. Hi, Max, the crypto team. Hey, man, welcome. All right, what we're going to do now is get into the quant coverage. I'm going to go ahead and share this. Now, I want to state this. Literally half of my research, okay, was rugged right before the show happened. Now, all these links worked really well last night. I talked to some of you guys. I talked to Michael Cornwell, Elon Musk, and I was like, man, you want to tune in tomorrow, as in right now. This is something else. Jack Thompson as well, right? I told you guys to tune in. Now I still have a lot, but I'm just stating that it would have been even better if I would have had all the other stuff. This is the second time this has happened. Again, that tells me something. Some funny stuff going on. I'm just throwing that out there. All right. Let's go ahead and start it. Let's get into the research, what we have. This is going to be the quant coverage of the night. And I don't know if this icon is going to work, but I'll try my best to make it look kind of cool on the screen. All right. So let's use that one. Been a while since I've been with you guys. Let's get into the quant coverage. Again, smash the like. Let's go ahead and start. And basically, we're going to try to give you something from LinkedIn. Now, if you guys recall, when it comes to quant, some of these bigger players of the blue chips, you can't really find a lot of information in regards to X, but we will cite some of the things from there. But where we really need to go lately, I should say for almost like the last year, is LinkedIn. Okay? So why is that? Well, starting off with this, you will see it's this lady. Her name is Wendy Gallagher. Why is she significant? Well, she is the co-founder of Future of Finance. And as you get into this, she has this statement that's not that long ago. Remember how I came up with that video with collaborations with Quant Papa and so on? It shows, Harrison Ford in the thumbnail, and it says, he's holding like a book, and it says Unify Ledger, and it says it's true, all of it. And it's just a lot of extra dot connecting, if you will. But it was going from speculation to confirmation. Where I'm going with this is you're going to hear some news about the digital dollar finally. In the past, I gave you guys some info about we're going to get more into this, but there was nothing that was completely solid yet. Okay, so definitely want to get into this. At the end of the outline, you will hear an audio clip. Thank God I got that at least. Okay, because with that was originally from some of these links that got rugged before the show, right? But at least I have that, and I had to put in a visual for you can hear it, because when I share it on StreamYard, you won't be able to hear the audio. Anyway, see, some of the younger kids will say, cool story, bro. But the unified programmable ledger. What is the quant connection? And what is the bigger picture? She states here, it's a programmable platform for multiple forms of digital money, digital assets. And so what's the viable objective? There's going to be an event that is going to be in London, June 13th. How far away is that? That's only 3 days away. 3 days away on Thursday. And look who is going to show up at this event. Gilbert Verdin at Quant. Marco Kessler at Six Digital Exchange. Now, as you guys remember, if you've been following me on X, you've been following me on this channel, YouTube, and so on, Quant Papa's pointed it out, maybe even Tokenizer, a few of these other guys, and so on. But the point is, Six Digital Exchange, that bigger picture. So all these guys that we cited in the past are now at this big round table, if you will. Institutional round table? Well, could very well be, but how so? Well, as we get more into this, of course, you're going to see at some point some mention about people from the BIS, which is here. And you also see that this event has literally like a brochure. So here it is. Future of Finance, Digital Money, Unified Programmable Platform for multiple forms of digital money and digital assets, a viable objective. So these some big name institutions showing up to this, right? And they're going to talk about some of the quote-unquote agenda. Different models for a single programmable platform, financial assets, arguments for and against Ethereum as a model. Everybody points out who doesn't understand Quant on the bigger picture. Quant is just ERC20. Right, but the over ledger is what? Blockchain agnostic. So it goes on to mention regulated entities need like an infrastructure. Whether the single programmable platform must be like, what's it going to do for the public good? Right, exactly. So this is going to be discussed literally in 3 days, give or take. Now, as we get more into this, there's another citation. And this time, again, it's from Six Digital Exchange. I'm going to take the Quant logo off just so you can see this. Join Marco Kessler, Digital Securities, the head of Digital Securities at SDX, Future of Finance. Here's the citation again. Digital Money Event. He will participate at this thing on the viability of, quote, look how they have the quotes, unified programmable platform for multiple forms of digital money and digital assets. So all this time that we've heard for years now about a unified ledger, there is your quote unquote unified. Say what you want as we get more into the outline. Things that were speculative in the past are coming into fruition. Now, I also want to state this. You're not going to see Quant just pump like crazy tomorrow or when this event happens. Maybe you see a positive catalyst. Who knows? Maybe you see the thing go down. The main thing is this. Quant and these ISOs, I'm treating them as though, you know what? Yeah, there's money to be made in 2024, but the real money, in my opinion, is late 2025. And some people are not willing to weather that storm and wait it out. Let's get more into why you want to wait this out. And when this gets chopped up, I'm literally going to throw in the thumbnail, you'll want some Quant. Here's why. So yeah, let's get into here's why you want some Quant, and here's why you still want to hold some Quant, because there's a lot of doubters where like the price isn't moving and so on. Do you understand the bigger picture? Let's get into the bigger picture. So a few more things I want to basically get into. Key speakers, obviously, Gilbert Verdian. You have some of these other people here, like, Marco Kessler. But guys, look at this. Head of Group Payment Strategy at NatWest Business. Head of Group Payment Strategy? So here's Marco Kessler, if you're not familiar with him. Look what he states. Digital money is a unified programmable platform for multiple forms of digital money and digital assets. Like, is it viable, though? What's the objective? Blah, blah, blah. Well, it takes you, and again, this part got kind of somewhat rugged, but I'll just do my best to connect this. Finaxtra is part of this mix. Why is that? It's because central banks are going to test the FX settlement in wrapped, or I should say, not wrapped, but wholesale CBDCs. Who's going to tokenize that? Well, we already know the answer to that. So here is another reference back on June 4th. Again, everybody's coming out of the floodgates or coming right, full charge like a bull. June 4th, all these citations, but you're not seeing it on X for the most part. You're seeing a little bit. But where it's at is when you go to the original sources and when you go to, for example, like the LinkedIns and so on, okay? And I know for some people, like maybe you guys saw some other content creators share this, and that's awesome. Cool. I'm glad they're doing that. But there's a lot of this that does fly under the radar because it's not really being shared on X. And I don't know if that means that that's why half of my research got rugged tonight. Could very well be. And, because last time around, I think it was like over a year ago, talking about, this big thing of like this, the BIS going with Overledger and Quant and, Bank of England. That was huge news last year. But releasing that, I guess, a little bit too soon, it's like there's NDAs and stuff like that. So could that be another case of that's what's going on here? Very well could be. But guys, central banks to test this FX settlement, these wholesale CBDCs. Again, back to what Gilbert Verdian was talking about like over a year ago. I don't know if you guys also remember this. I was talking about Project Rialto, but the point is Bank of International Settlements launching Project Rialto to explore how instant cross-border payments could be improved using modular foreign exchange component combined with settlement in wholesale CBDCs. So if you're brand new to this, it might seem a little Greek. I'm going to be honest. But the point also that you should understand is when you see statements about a settlement layer, lots of content creators talk about this even when it comes to Ripple's XRP. Okay? Understand that this is no bash on XRP, but understand that when you have a platform such as the Overledger, where we've shown demos of the Overledger, where you could switch to even IOTA. You could switch to Polygon. You could switch to, obviously, Ripple's XRP. But for what? The settlement layer. As we know, why in the world would you want to work with Ethereum? And again, at the beginning of the outline, that's why I showed you that little piece. It states in that reference from LinkedIn, like, going after Ethereum. And it's like, now it's starting to finally make sense. They're finally referencing the shift of getting away from that and understanding kind of like what we've been talking about for the longest time, settlement layers. Let's pull this up a little bit more. It will all make sense in a bit. So look at this statement again. And if you want the article, I'm going to drop it in the description for you guys. So here it is. You can look at it for yourself. It's straight from Finastra, okay? But it's improving, like it shows on the screen, guys, improving cross-border payment. This international policy is an explicit international policy, and it's a priority of the G20. FX is key component of cross-border payments, but currently the FX services facilitated by correspondent banks can be costly. Yes, of course. What are they citing, guys? We've been talking about this for the longest time. That old system of SWIFT. Now, I understand that old system of SWIFT is a whole new system. This whole notion that you hear from, influencers and so on, that SWIFT is going to be replaced. SWIFT is not being replaced. SWIFT is upgrading to the new system. Okay? So that old MT messaging model and so on, $60 billion to move $10 trillion from point A of, Bank of Greece to point B, Bank of Seoul, that's too much. What happens when the institutions finally start moving this money? And is this where we're getting the whole thing, that flip of the switch moment? I think so. From a retail perspective, and I discussed this numerous times, you cannot be moving all this heavy money and then things, I know this is not an XRP segment tonight, but that's a good example. How can XRP be at 51 cents? And then you start seeing multiple examples of holy crap, this country, Japan, is a great example. Even Will Fix with his coverage, 80% of banks are using Ripple in Japan. Okay, they have the FSA. They don't have the SEC. They have the FSA. FSA embraces blockchain DLT. Totally night and day difference compared to here. So that's one example. Everything you guys are seeing in the world right now as we speak are just tiny examples. Yeah, we have the partnerships and all these positive catalysts, but from a retail perspective, that's nothing. Where is the big money going to go? Back to the topic. Let's take a look into this. You're going to see video clips. I have fast forwarded to certain interviews. At least, thank God, that didn't get bugged, right? I did double check some of that. Full screen this. I know it's a lot to get into, and some of you guys just want me to get into the 10-minute version. But the point is, like it says, correspondent banks, how costly it is, how slow it is, how complex it is, and exposing the participants in the payments chain to liquidity, credit, settlement risks. Look at this from the BIS. Quote, decentralized solutions, CBDC, and interlinked payment infrastructures are considered, guys, to basically promise avenues to improve cross-border payments. How they interact has not yet been explored and could yield answers that advance cross-border payments globally. Okay. We need this explained, not just from a retail perspective, but where the big money is, the institutional perspective. Look at some of the tags, for crying out loud. As you get further down, payments, cryptocurrency. And this is from Finastra. As we get to the next part of the citation, you will see this from Indeed. Remember these guys? Yeah, I'm sure you remember these guys. It is LACnet. Now, you may be thinking, does that have to do with LACchain? The answer basically is yes. How so? Is LACnet part of LACchain? Yes, of course it is. They are indeed part of it. How so? Well, basically speaking, LACchain, as we know, is the blockchain infrastructure designed to be exclusive, scalable for projects and solutions in Web3. Now, when we say scalable, when people hear about Quant and don't know anything about Quant, they'll say ERC20, garbage. It's just an ERC20 token. That can't scale. Again, over ledger, we covered this in the past. Remember M10? M10 does 1 million TPS on the institutional side of things. There's your scalability. So, yes, scalable projects, solutions for Web3. And on top of that, LACNet is an international nonprofit association. It was created, of course, by LACChain. And then we know that LACChain is, technically speaking, LACChain Global Alliance, and they're specifically like orchestrating the LACChain blockchain networks. Who gets the job done for LACChain? Remember how we talked about Quant? To put it in simpler terms, if you're new to all of this, LACChain is a technology platform, while on the other hand, LACNet is an organization that manages and ensures a smooth, quote unquote, operation. I'll pull this back up. Here it is. It's still there. Sorry about that. So you see here that they have this whole category of being a liaison to ISO, International Organization for Standardization, and more specifically 307. Well, why is that important? Because 307, as we know, is the Quant network standard. So boom, that reference again, posted not that long ago, and they talk about how blockchain DLT, basically speaking, is at the utmost importance to work hand in hand with other stakeholders on standards for blockchain interoperability. But boom, back to this about digital wallets. And as we get more into this, you'll see this lady that in the past we covered her once, and she will talk in more detail. She even, will reference, I think, even Wisdom Tree. So is there a little bit of Stellar reference here? Yes. Is there a little bit of XDC reference here? Yes. We'll get into that as well. But my thing is this. You will see them mention ISO numerous times, but most importantly, it's the whole thing of the delegations at ISO to jointly develop a publicly available specification, which is called PAS, in support of, look at this, universal digital wallets. Now, that is important because this was something that was kind of speculative for a while. So my point is this, before we continue, your main key takeaway, before we get even into the talk of the digital dollar, is the whole notion that you have Quant, you have LACNet, you have the whole thing in LACChain, this big event coming up in 3 days, and basically seeing how it's going to come together, but specifically unified ledger and unified what? Universal digital wallets? Okay, that's a big deal. All right. A little bit more about this. So you will see that during the week of the 3rd to the 7th, which that already happened for the most part, these meetings at ISO, like it says, will determine the next steps for an initiative, right? Delegations, joint effort, interested parties, and of course, they're hoping for the final acceptance. Right, the final acceptance. Is this the defining moment, finally, of the next big step to get towards, let's face it, guys, proper regulations? Now, some people are going to say, nope. Look into it more yourself. Why so? Again, I'm going to full screen this. LACNet proposed a draft for content to be submitted, guys, for consideration for the delegations at ISO. And again, universal digital wallet standards. We always talk about standards. Now we're talking about wallet standards because the unified ledger is already there. Now we have to have wallets. That's the bottom line. All right. So what I'm going to do now is simply take you over to the video clip. All right. I had a lot more that would have made sense with actual screenshots proving everything. But this is still going to be good for yourself, solve in that regard. And who knows, maybe when Quant Papa watches this, he'll know what I'm talking about. Like, holy crap, yeah. A lot of those, screenshots got rugged for whatever reason. But I'm going to take you to this. I fast forwarded. This is Nadine Shakur. Now, this is an interview on something that flies under the radar for most people. Most people don't watch this. I'm going to be honest. That is not me trying to pat myself on the back. I like the idea that people like Quant Papa watch this, though. Because what's really important to understand here is This guy on the right, I'm just giving you a little disclaimer, he blinks a lot. This is Dominic Hobson, but he hosts this podcast type format for institutions where they can tune in with their little club, if you want to call that, in regards to the future of finance. I'm going to highlight this for a second. This is good stuff. Nadine Shakur, or Shakar, I got to stop calling her Shakur. She ain't related to Tupac, right? Like, what do you think about Max? But anyway, she's over at DTCC, and it states that with the acquisition in October 2023, remember this stuff? Remember this research? I don't know if anybody really paid attention to this, but in October 2023, over at Securency, fintech that specializes in the development of blockchain tech for regulated financial institutions, DTCC, that's what that stands for, Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Remember how we always talk about clearinghouses? Remember how like we even talk about like Stronghold, what they got when it comes to clearinghouses? Well, what's important is it signaled the end, look at this, guys, of the experimental phase of its engagement with digital assets. Right. The end of that phase. Guys, please pay attention to this. That phase, the writing is on the wall. The next phase is this introduction that's coming up in London in 3 days. I'm telling you flat out, I had a conversation with another gentleman earlier today. His name is Matt. And we were talking about how the days of crypto Wild West will be coming to an end. Now, how soon is that? Now, some people say 2024, 2025. I do not think this thing gets dragged out to 2030. I just really don't. How so? Again, just a little bit more about this. So it states that the phase dated back to at least 2015, December 2015, when DTCC joined the Linux Foundation. And look what it says here, Hyperledger project, right? How many projects do we know use Hyperledger? Quite a few. And the whole point is understanding that it's all here. Test pilots and smart contracts that came and emerged from this, right? Your other key takeaways that Securency had an acquisition that brought this lady, who is Nadine Shakar, not Shakur, a senior experienced securities service executive with an attested appetite for innovation. All right. So is she on her side? Could very well be. But what's even more important is she was the CEO for 9 months earlier from State Street. Now, we always talk about what's State Street doing? What is Vanguard doing? What's BlackRock doing, right? So I'm going to go ahead and just simply get into this. This is the, I don't know, you call it juicy part of this. This is from Future of Finance, Nadine Chakar on the future of tokenization. But more importantly, where are we going right now? Let's go ahead and share this. Smash the like if you haven't done so. Here you go.
And from the first day I met him, I can't tell you how much money we spend and how much of our resources go to the underlying, like to the most lower denominator here when it comes to compliance, when it comes to identity, when it comes to being able to provide ultimate security around know your client and AML. Now, we don't do that, right? But we create the infrastructure and the tools for other banks to be able, and other providers to be able to do that. And even as CEO of Securency, I would argue with him, like, Dan, why are we doing this? And he keeps going, that is fundamental. And it's true. We were one of the very first to put out a token that is based on something called the compliance aware token framework, which is, in my very technical terms, you put the systems in the token. Now, Dominic, when you and I were growing up in this industry, you'll remember we used to have a system for equities, and we have a system for fixed income and one for derivatives, right? Because we couldn't handle the intricacies of the various asset classes. With this compliance-aware token framework, you're actually starting to put the rules in there. And on the digital identity, it will know Dominic is only allowed to trade equities between 8 and 9 o'clock. And he can only, I'll make it up, can only trade the S&P 500. So this level, it is more of a dynamic identity and compliance framework. A lot of people today rely on whitelisting for a lot of this. Whitelisting is done like in one point in time, but it's hard when that token starts to move ownership. You sort of lose track of it and you got to do it over and over again. The compliance aware framework actually keeps track of where that goes. So it's a very important, like our entire platform, if I like, and you kindly read off the stack earlier, but our stack sits on, it's compliance first.
Mhm.
And when you talk to DTCC, that's the thing that attracted them most about Securrency. It's compliance first, then it's a harmonization in integration layer, then it's data, then it's the smart contract composer that sits on top of it. So everything that we do has been based on compliance first. We will continue to partner with the industry around digital identity, zero trust, not like all that good stuff that would help us make it a more secure and resilient environment. So we tend to lead there. We intend to partner. We intend to invest. We will do what it takes to make sure that the integrity of that market is beyond doubt, because we also believe that would help give regulators peace of mind. It will give clients peace of mind, and hopefully it will push with adoption moving forward as well.
It's an interesting insight that the existing traditional industry silos are an obstacle to the adoption of digital identities, because
It is because
yeah.
there's no interoperability, right? They don't,
Yeah.
we all throw that word out like it's, it's, you're a cocktail party, you throw interoperability, you sound really knowledgeable, but the fact of the matter is you can't cross those silos. So what we do have is an industry of, we have a lot of these walled gardens, as they call them. They're filled up pet rocks. And as long as you and I share a garden, we can trade, but you can't cross to your neighbor's wall and do that. And our intent is to try to figure out a way using technology and using the existing rules and regulations that we have to break down those silos.
I'd like to ask you about differences between the buy side and the sell side when it comes to tokenization, and to recall your experiences as head of operations and data at Manulife. You were there for 3 years. You also got to know a lot of asset managers when you were running asset servicing in Europe for BNY Mellon. You've picked out an asset manager earlier in our conversation today. I just wonder what your view is. Is the buy side more excited about tokenization than the sell side? And the reason the buy side might be excited is that obviously it's not a great time for the industry. Their margins are under pressure. Do they see this as a way of cutting cost? Point one. Point two, do they see this as a huge opportunity to create new products, new revenue streams, which can help them to start growing again? So I wonder what asset managers think, and I also wonder what the sell side thinks in your experience. And by sell side, I mean primarily global custodians and fund administrators rather than investment banks.
Sure.
So what's the balance between buy and sell side in your experience?
So let me start by saying, like, for me, when I look at not just tokenization, but the entire digital ecosystem, for me, it provides benefits to both the buy side and the sell side, as you've defined it, on both sides of the ledger, right? On one side, it could provide with more cost efficiency, and that comes with it a lot better controls and less manual work, and capital efficiency. Capital efficiency is really important, especially in this day and age. Cash isn't cheap anymore, right? So it comes with a lot of strings attached to it. And then the other side of the ledger, to your point, it does create more revenue sources, right? The ability of manufacturing and launching products, again, at a scale and a rate that we've never seen before. And I'm going to put a little footnote too, that a lot of people are attracted to digital technology because they think, and I believe that it opens up and makes finance more accessible. We've talked a lot about, as a group, we talk a lot about the unbanked. There's 1.7 billion people in the world that don't have bank accounts, but this technology will make it more affordable to people to be able to leverage the skill sets of professional money managers that historically have been out of reach for individuals. So when I look at the buy side, to your point, they are excited. They put more money. They've done more that I've seen across the board, but they can take it so far, right? Without creating an environment that helps them grow and get benefits from their infrastructures. On the sell side, as you call them, the custodians, custodians are big organizations. Same thing, they're highly regulated. they've got to take their innovation at a more measured pace. And we've seen some be able to push out more than others.
As you say, innovation budgets are not unlimited. Innovation takes time. What incentive do you have to build things that your grandchildren will enjoy? But you're still under pressure to show something tangible, not just you, but
All of us.
your clients, so all of you. And throughout your career, you've always made clear that you measure success in terms of higher revenues, savings, increasing those margins, making the business more profitable. Now, how easy is it to apply those career-long criteria in an industry which is nascent, like digital assets?
I think the same principles still apply, Dominic. If we can't do all this, then there's no point in investing the time, money, and energy to do that. Like we can, you know, if this is a matter of just satisfying our curiosity for something nice and new and shiny, then we can do that in the background. I really believe with every fiber of my body that once this technology is deployed at scale, all the goodness around cost savings, new revenues, capital efficiency, new products that are accessible to people of all walks of life would be a reality. But it's going to take time. And in order for us to be afforded that time, we need to win the trust and confidence of our shareholders that are paying for all this innovation. And we can reward them by being very clear on the mission, showing step-by-step success. And it's been my experience that if you show them what the end goal is, they will come along with you on that journey. But I think transparency is key. Communication is key. Collaboration is going to be key. But most importantly, get very locked on the end state and not get distracted. Because the beauty of it's funny, I'm working on a speech that talks about like how technology has impacted finance. And there used to be once upon a time, like when you came to finance, you're right, you needed to know your formulas, your ROIs, your profit margin. Right now, you got to know your bits and bytes as well as you got to know your. So you're seeing that blending there, and that's the new finance of tomorrow. So what we're doing very much is a part and parcel of that. But it's important to remain focused, clear on message, and deliver. Like the delivery has been key, and I don't think we've delivered enough for the hype that we've put in this marketplace. It's the unfortunate reality. I mean, there's more. I can't keep up with how many conferences we have. Actually, I've had a buy side client reach me yesterday, and in the text they said, "Listen, we were sitting yet on another panel on tokenization, and it's getting old." So there's a bit of fatigue there from just talking. And this is where I think the DTCC acquisition of security is a really call to action. Let's get together, let's crack this nut and deliver something tangible to the market.
Now, talking of delivering something tangible, making step-by-step progress, I did see a press release from Citi about a proof of concept they've done with you at DTCC, but also with Wellington and with WisdomTree, in which smart contracts were used to automate all stages, including settlement of a securities financing transaction. In other words, this Wellington private equity fund tokenized by Citi was used as collateral for borrowing a WisdomTree money market fund. Can you tell me a bit more about this proof of concept? And the reason I'm asking you about it is because repo, securities lending, collateral management has been identified as an early use case for tokenization. I wonder if DTCC see this as a major opportunity in the tokenization area, in much the same way as HQLAX and Broadridge have done.
Very much so, Dominic. I mean, you've articulated very well the outcome of that proof of concept, and I'll focus on the last component that you talked about. So we were able to show we've got an amazing tool in our toolkit. It's called Composer. What we set out to show is using smart contracts, you can automate entire financial services transactions or infrastructure. So what we set out here to do is we showed that you can actually automate pretty much every single aspect of the securities lending process. We showed that we're actually not fussed who tokenizes the asset. So as you saw in this situation, it was Citibank that tokenized, but they used our tools to be able to take the new asset and use it as collateral in a securities lending transaction.
Take a moment to pause there. Took our tools. So earlier at the beginning of that fast forwarded part, I know that this is, I don't know, I played probably, let's see here, a good 7 or 8 minutes of that. So word for word, like I mentioned in the comments, I said, for you guys who are watching on the live show, I said, listen to this part. I said word for word, basically what Gilbert Verdian mentioned. You hear Nadine Shakar say the same thing. Now, a while back, there's been a lot of speculation in regards to like Citibank and JP Morgan and all this. Will they use it? Now, before in many deep dives, we connected that all as well. But then back to what she's mentioning, back to this event that's coming up in 3 days, give or take, in London. Where's the next big phase of this? I'm going to play just a tad bit more of this. We're going to jump into the next part of this. Then, of course, as we get more further into the outline, it'll be like, again, a little bit more from BIS, a little bit more from this one called USDF. And I'm so disappointed because I actually had solid proof in regards to USDF consortium and the Quant connection. And again, on that tab, on that link, it says, this is no longer available. For real. Yeah. Wow. So I don't know if it's going to be available after that event. Could very well be. Just throwing that out there. I'm going to play a little bit more about this. Here we go.
So we believe that what we wanted to show, for us, it was important to be able to validate that everything that we built actually works in real life. So we did that. And now the next step of that is, to your point, is we've had, and we continue to have a lot of dialogue within the industry about how can you now tokenize collateral in a way that makes it more efficient, both in terms of capital and cost. Now, the problem with collateral, Dominic, and you and I have been around for a while. You remember Lehman and how hard it was to track where all. So the problem we have here is it is untested in terms of law and regulation. What happens during time of stress in bankruptcy around collateral? That is one of the bigger problems that at least I have with how to. So we are engaged with industry associations, with other large buy side and sell side providers to see, can we build something that's robust enough? And to your point, JP Morgan has done a lot of work on repo, on Onyx, so has Broadridge, so have others. But as I said earlier, they're done in their silos. And can we now break those silos and bring it all together? So,
do you guys hear that? Can we break those silos, bring it all together? Again, if that doesn't solidify all the research that we've been talking about for a good 2+ years about the what is of what JP Morgan is doing, because at the end of the day, we know for a fact. Do you think, honestly, that Jamie Dimon is going to come out and say, yep, we choose Quant Network? Of course he's not. He's the same guy that comes, in front of a camera before the world, CNBC, Fox Business, multiple other platforms, that says, yeah, I told all my employees not to buy, any BTC. And what does he do that following weekend? He literally goes out and buys the living hell out. We talk about manipulation. We talk about this game. Okay, that's one thing. Action, reaction. Here is your action. Action being put into place. Action literally coming to London, which, by the way, is probably the biggest, hub when it comes to the regulatory infrastructure layout of what's the Digital Pound Foundation, Gilbert Verdian's background and so on. But it's not just that. It's the laws that they have in place. I mean, even the XDC reference, for crying out loud, when we talk about why did XDC have a significant pump when ISO 222 went live, not the mandate, not the full mandate, but went live, March 2023. Why wasn't it Ripple's XRP? Why wasn't it, Stellar's XLM? Why didn't those go 70% plus on the pump? But instead it was XDC. So again, it's understanding that UK finance and so on, and some of these laws that are written for the world, let's just be honest, it's that bigger picture. This lady, whether you like her or not, she is part of that bigger picture. That's where I'm getting with this. I'm going to play about, I think, roughly 2 or 3 more minutes of this. I just wanted to pause at that mark because sometimes, I mean, understand we hear the material and it might just go right past our head because, we were focusing on other things. And, that's okay. We're all busy. But that part about that JP Morgan reference and earlier that Citibank reference, that in my opinion, is that is just, that's beyond huge. All right, that's not hype. That's just confirming some things. You're hearing it. No offense to her, from the horse's mouth, as the saying goes, right? And she's well connected. This is somebody that literally was a former CEO from State Street. Okay, and we're always pay attention to what they're doing and so on. Well, now they're coming together. When we talk about, what's the BIS doing, what's Bank of England doing, and so on. It's more like, what are the central banks doing and where they're going from here? The next big step is we're done with this whole test pilots and so on. It's finally going to happen. And is it the digital dollar? Is it this next phase? I think so. I'm going to play just a little bit more about this. Don't want to bore you guys too much with this, but it's good stuff. You should follow some of it. If you want to see some of this stuff for yourself, you don't want to wait for somebody like me. Go to this channel, very small channel. It's basically like, for this club of like institutional people. Like, what are they doing? Right? It's called Future of Finance, and you could get the updates before you wait for old Max to come back out of hibernation, all right, or whatever you want to call it. So you could take a look into it for yourself. Again, I'm gonna play this 2-3 minutes, give or take. Here we go.
So I'm not looking to reinvent the wheel as much as really like opening up an environment where that collateral could be a lot more free flowing in terms of, so liquidity is going to become even more pressing as we move forward. You got T+1, now the cycles are shorter. You're going to have more clearing that occurs in the future. So looking how efficiently we can do collateral, cross-margining, all that stuff is critical. And again, it's not to the benefit of DTCC. It is to the benefit, not only to the benefit of DTCC, but to the benefit of the industry. And we're working together across the boards. So we will continue. Obviously, you still have to do POCs, right? You can't go in and bet the farm on something when you don't know it works. But that work with Citibank was really to showcase that the DTC platform is open. We don't care who tokenizes. We don't care what token formats you use. We don't care what smart contracts you use. And that gives a client indefinite choice. You want to use an open source, format, go for it, right? If you like those pieces of it. But our ability to collate it all together and be able to create something that's automated from beginning to end is priceless.
Again, back to it all. She said it doesn't necessarily matter what token. Again, of course, Overledger, blockchain agnostic, doesn't matter what token. She's talking about how it just needs to all talk to each other. Again, all those examples, smart contracts and so on. This is why it was nice to finally show those demos in the past. Hey guys, look at this last one. Overledger being able to switch to IOTA. Overledger being able to switch to Polygon. Overledger being able to switch to XRPL for, settlement. Right. Real-time gross settlements. Because you're definitely not going to want to settle in what? Ethereum, right? And so again, if you're just tuning in, even at the beginning of the outline, straight from Indeed, to see that reference of introducing an alternative to get away from the Ethereum model, literally says Ethereum, getting away from that. Finally, addressing it, right? Cool stuff. This next part is from the BIS because that got brought up. And basically, it's this right here. This is another citation. If you want it, you can go right to Bank International Settlements. How long ago was this posted? 12:05 on June 5th. I've been with you guys for a little bit. It's not time sensitive, but the point is, understanding Project Enbridge once again reaches minimum viable project stage, invites private sector companies to propose new solutions and use cases to further develop the cross-border payments platform. Think about this in itself. This is not JASMY coverage of the night. Man, say what you want. Japan literally gets it, and the whole rest of the world's playing catch up. what I mean by that is Shinzo Abe literally made this reference back in 2015. He invited not just the United States, but other participants to come and do this whole thing of, going ape, to invest in private sectors. And man, did we see some things pop off, right? Obviously this is not the JASMY coverage of the night, but that's worth pointing out. So when we go to the site for the BIS, here's that. You will also see here that Enbridge reaches minimum viable product. We already mentioned that part. But June 5th, back to some of this statements, private sector participants invited to propose a value-added solutions that can be connected to the Enbridge MVB platform. All right, what do we know when it comes to BIS? They already chose Quant for tokenization. Okay. Some people also point out, well, they're going to also do Ripple. Yeah, it's not just Quant. I get that. But if Quant with the overledger is going to be able to talk to everything, and you have all this stuff in regards to the APIs and so on, well, then that's great. Are we going to just see Quant just sit where it's at? I mean, say what you want. Even at current prices, Quant's an absolute steal at, the $80 range, $89, $87. So I'm going to full screen this again. I want you guys just to see just a tad bit more about this. It talks about international cooperation with a full member, or full members, I should say. Talks about, for example, how they have an extensive collaboration that started all the way back in 2021. And man, so many participants. You have Bank of Thailand, Central Bank of United Arab Emirates, and even in China, People's Bank of China, and even the Hong Kong Monetary Authority, which, let's face it, they're kind of like into everything right now. But guys, it's the participants and the observers of all this. This multi-CBDC and understanding the whole thing of like the technical infrastructure of it all. To do what? Improve the current system. Yeah, you read that right. Current system. Allow cross-border payments to be immediate, cheap, universally accessible. Boom. Back to the whole thing of the unified ledger. Back to the whole thing of universal wallets. And with what? Final settlement. How can that happen? How can you have universal ledger or unified ledger, right? And how can you have universal wallets? Unless you have it talk to each other. The answer, again, has always been through the overledger, because you can settle with XRPL, with XRP. Say what you want. Eventually, IOTA is going to be sitting at the table. I know that there's I don't really cover IOTA enough. I understand that. I will throw out this disclaimer. All right. I'm also entitled to opinion, just like anybody else. Not financial advice. This is just my personal opinion. So we've seen, wow, JASMY. Everybody's so happy about JASMY, and rightfully so. This is not JASMY's night. But the key thing is, if we saw JASMY do his thing, and boy did it ever do his thing, and it's going to continue to do his thing, I am just throwing it out there, might have some IOTA on hand for when ISO 222 mandate, that actual mandate, November 2025 is done. Because IOTA has similar use case, guys, to JASMY, as we know. And it's part of ISO 222. Again, it's supply and demand, but it's waiting for that demand to kick in. And I'll just leave it at that. And maybe we'll get more into IOTA on some other different day. That is definitely something to point out, because a lot of you guys, you message me and you're happy as all hell, and I'm so happy for you guys too. I'm happy too. JASMY's been killing it, right? It's like in the top 50 for crying out loud, for where it went. But again, the bigger pictures. Quant with ISO TC307 complements the ISO 222 system. Heck, it's even ISO 222 in itself. A few more things on this particular thing before we kick it into the next part. You will see how it talks about Enbridge, talks about all the stuff about the pilots. All this stuff already happened. But again, want to know something? It's understanding that, as this enters, again, with the BIS, this MVP stage, think about that in a sec for a moment. Project Enbridge now inviting private sector firms to propose new solutions and new use cases to help develop the platform and showcase all its potential. Interested firms can apply to participate. All right. Okay, that's great. But again, what's coming here in the next 3 days? All right, I'm going to finally jump into this part because we need to get into this. And I've been kind of double checking on the other screen with the comments. So I did have some solid research to talk about USDF and the Quant connection. But unfortunately, I got rugged. I'll do my best to get through some of this. But the guys, I want you to check this out sometime at your own free leisure if you choose to do so. Call it homework, call it whatever you want to call it. Here's the link. It's USDF Consortium. What you're going to discover is that, guess what? Everything that we talked about from years ago in regards to Project Hamilton, remember some of this talk from a couple years ago? Project Hamilton was confirmed that you saw Quant, and they were working with what, guys? Remember MIT? And they were working also with the New York Federal Reserve. Remember that? And we're like, yeah, here's the Quant connection. And then later on, we even confirmed a little bit more about that. But then it was kind of like the, U.S. digital dollar was just kind of like something on the back burner and speculation and so on. I'm going to show you this a little bit here because, again, a lot of my research got rugged, which sucks. But I'm going to at least try to show you guys something. So this is USDFconsortium.com. Bank-delivered digital dollar, bringing blockchain innovation to the real world through the creation of blockchain native bank payment rails. Now, I'm going to just call it right now, and that is after the announcement that is going to be presented, I guess, in London in 3 days, you're going to hear more of that digital dollar. And, of course, you're going to see from the platforms that you're used to. You're going to see on YouTube. You're going to hear everybody talking about this whole thing of digital dollar and Quant. You're going to hear also on X, and a lot of people are going to be sharing it and so on. I don't want to be the type of guy to be like, oh yeah, I'm the first to share it. It is what it is. I was hoping to be, but that got rugged. But the point is, we are investors, right? And we are paying attention to when the United States shows up to the big show, right? So I'm going to full screen this just a little bit more, and you're going to see here, like it says, bringing blockchain innovation to the real world through the creation of blockchain native bank payment rails. USDF, as in United States Digital, I don't have the exact part on the F. Anyway, is the banking industry's answer to the need for a digital dollar. So again, back to the whole concept. If you're wondering if digital dollar is coming, it is coming. Blockchain tech can make payments more efficient, improve traditional banking services, expand, yada, yada, right? Here's some of the members in that regard. All this talk about New York is not going to be part of it. We confirmed this, right? So you got New York Community Bank. You got some of these other ones. Some of you guys are familiar with some of these, right? But like it says, banks already offer digital dollars. And this is something, technically speaking, that I would say is true. Even when you use your debit card and so on, all this stuff, technically speaking, is digital, but people look at it like it's just worded different. 11% of notes and coins already there, 16% of reserves account at the Fed, 73% are bank deposits. Most money in the U.S. economy today is held at a deposit and insured depository institution. Look what it says. The vast majority of this is held digitally. The Fed estimates that just 6% of transactions today are in cash. So are we already there? And look at this other statement from USDF. They believe the best way to leverage blockchain tech is to extend the existing banking model into this tokenized environment. You have a checklist, you have use cases. So again, when you see the thing introduced in London, of all places, I know, here we are talking about digital dollar, but again, in London, you're going to hear a lot of this talk. So USDF is a tokenized deposit that represents an existing bank deposit on what? A blockchain ledger. Delivers modern payments infrastructure, again, back to that point, while maintaining the numerous protections and benefits that our two-tier banking system provides today. Real world value, bank owned, all this stuff. Most importantly, of course, interoperability, right? So what do we really have in regards to all of this, right? And again, I had the most wonderful thing I wanted to share, but it is what it is. The whole key thing is there's some key players that sit at the big table. And what is that big table? Well, here's a video clip. And in this video clip that was streamed live on June 5th, and maybe some of you guys saw this, it was talking about the next generation infrastructure, how tokenization of real world assets will what? Well, it is understanding that this was introduced even to House Democrats. And I'm not trying to, be divisive on this, but your key thing again is this. Carlos Domingo, this other guy, and I had some clips to connect him to Quant, but it is what it is. He's a CEO of a Securitize. Okay. So again, the highlight tonight is still Securitize. And even who? Yeah, that's right. Nadine Chakar, DTCC, Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. Then, who's also here? Robert Morgan, Chief Executive Officer, USDF Consortium. That's why I'm showing you the whole thing of USDF. There's a background. It talks about the use cases. So all these guys are at this thing to present this next thing. Is this presenting actual use case examples to take this thing to, let's just be honest, to get regulatory policy going on and so on, right? Not just the framework, it's one thing to introduce the framework, but like proper regulations. I honestly think this is the next step. We've been talking about this for a couple of years. I remember when I first came into altcoins, people were talking about like, oh, we need to have all this regulation and stuff. And everybody at the time, over 2 years ago, we're talking like, early 2022 or 2022, early 2021, excuse me. It's been 3 years. We're mentioning it's going to take a long time to get to that point. Is this that point? That's the main thing I'm trying to share with you guys. Is this that point? So I'm going to go ahead and full screen this. I want you to hear this. I'm going to show just a little bit more. I'm going to give you some citations from IETF and some of these other things. Again, I might be able to continue this some other day. Maybe Quant Papa could help me out with that. But nonetheless, check this out. I've gone ahead and fast forwarded it. We're going to play roughly about maybe 7 minutes. I will get back in the comments and so on, but I don't want you guys to lose your train of thought while we're on the hot topic, because this really is a big deal. I mean, this whole thing of what was speculative in so many people's eyes, and, I don't see what's going on with Quant. Again, Securitize, again, what you saw from Nadine Chakar, sorry, I gotta stop calling her, like, she's not really a Tupac, right? But anyway, people like her and so on. Okay, that's your key thing, and understand like how they even talk word for word what Gilbert Verdi was mentioning. So I'm gonna play this. Listen to this. You're gonna even hear some funny things in regards to like meme coins. I think at some point, which is crazy. Just trying to see if it's loud enough for you guys. All right, here it is. Here we go.
Well, I'm fundamentally dubious that you can take the human out of the loop, but I guess I just, in the 20 seconds I've left, do any of you believe that a blockchain system that allows mixers and anonymous wallets can provide a robust ledger of all the transactions and block anti-money laundering?
I do believe so, the same way the internet is also used for, legal things and illegal things, and it's a public distributed infrastructure.
I think the industry would be a lot more credible if they were fighting harder before the enforcement actions to protect against money laundering.
Gentleman's time has expired. And just to remind our witnesses, the chairman, in consultation with the ranking member, will continue questioning till about 200 votes remain, and then we'll adjourn. And I thank the witnesses again in advance for an outstanding participation. And with that, I yield to the gentleman from Wisconsin, the chairman of the House Administration Committee, Mr. Stile, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. With any new technology, I think we're always good at identifying potential risks, but I don't think we talk enough about the potential benefits of new technology. And I want to dive in with you to start, Mr. Morgan, if I can. And I'm thinking about community banks here in particular. Historically, ledgers, right, started with paper, moved on into siloed digital formats. This is really an opportunity to, I think, really transform, in particular for community banks. They have a harder time playing in some of this space. But sometimes you'll hear people talk about how this new technology will actually hinder community banks, will only help the largest financial institutions. Could you provide some clarity about how this might assist some of the smaller financial institutions in our country, which are absolutely essential, in particular for small businesses?
Congressman, thank you for the question. I think this is a critically important aspect of DLT blockchain. is the ability to help multiple institutions work together in real time to punch above their weight. So traditional technology applications have to be sort of spread across a wide customer base so larger banks can have an advantage in adoption. What's unique about DLT is it's that shared infrastructure that can allow for real-time collaboration. So a group of 4 or 5 community banks might be able to band together to make a loan they otherwise wouldn't.
And is that also true in particular as we think about some of these smaller businesses that might be as exporting a product, so a business in southeast Wisconsin and Janesville, and they export a product, say, to Italy, and they're looking to receive payment. In the current structure, that if they bank with a community bank, there's a delay before that payment would make it all the way through to their account, right?
That's right, and we think...
And then how does this transform with the tokenization? It could be instantaneous, correct?
That's right. And what DLT can do is bring all of those parties to that multi-party transaction together on the same ledger, provide real-time transparency through the transaction so that customer can have real-time insight into how quickly the funds will move, what it will cost them, and when it's received.
And they can do that even if it's a bank holiday in Italy or if it's a holiday in the United States of America, 365 days a year, 24/7. Is that accurate?
That's right. It has
And under the current system, they couldn't do that, correct?
That is correct.
I want to thank you very much. I want to shift to you, Ms. Tesler, if I can. In particular, I'm thinking about how the Uniform Commercial Code that governs a lot of contracts in our 50 different states, some states have begun the process of amending the UCC in ways to address this. In others, there's concerns that there might be federal law that's conflicting in this space. You're an expert in it. Could you walk us through what UCC changes may be required and whether or not there's any federal law that needs to be adjusted to facilitate this continued development of technology?
Thank you for that question. So the UCC does not address federal or state regulations. Instead, the UCC provides a default set of rules to govern the commercial transactions, and the two can work hand in hand. The 2022 amendments, referred to as Article 12, are now being adopted by various states to respond to market concerns about the lack of definitive commercial law rules involving digital assets. And in Article 12, it applies to controllable electronic records, which specifically excludes the scope of any digital assets that meet the definition covered elsewhere in this UCC, such as deposit accounts, electronic money, and investment property. The nature of the real-world asset does not change when it's tokenized, so the applicable commercial laws to underlying real-world assets still apply, even if it's a tokenized asset. So I think that's important.
Appreciate your feedback. Let me come back to you, Mr. Domingo, if I can, because under the previous question, we heard some discussion about how some of the potential risk to BlackRock, and obviously there's a little back and forth there, but I'd like to discuss kind of the benefit that BlackRock is seeing in particular as it relates to the tokenization of money market funds. Could you just comment on the benefit side of it?
Yeah, I can speak on behalf of BlackRock, but I can talk generally what the benefits of a tokenized fund is. First, it's fully transparent in terms of the holdings of the fund. It's transferable peer-to-peer. In the case of the tokenized, fund that we've done with BlackRock, it's also fully transferable into USDC, which is one of the existing stable coins. So you get 24/7 instant kind of.
And so you have all those benefits, and then just real quick, because I think you were going to explain more further, or you were explaining how you can actually put in place the controls that we all want, know your customer, et cetera.
Correct.
Can you just comment on you in the final 20 seconds here?
Yeah, I think saying that a public distributed blockchain, a permissionless one, you cannot control KYC, AML, or transfer restrictions is a profound misunderstanding of how the technology works. We are a regulated entity, as I've said in my statement, and we do control KYC for the wallets, we whitelist them on chain, we control transfer restrictions using smart contracts, et cetera.
Thank you very much. I think that's really important to have on the record. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
The gentleman yields back. The gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Nickel, is recognized for 5 minutes.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks to our witnesses. Happy Wednesday. This is the first time the Digital Assets Subcommittee has met since the landmark bipartisan vote on FIT 21. So I wanted to take note of that important bipartisan vote in Congress, the first time we've ever addressed this issue in the U.S. Congress, and thank Chairman Hill and everyone else who worked so hard on this legislation. Very optimistic about the message we're sending to the Senate with 71 Democrats on this legislation. Today's hearing on the tokenization of real-world assets is important. This technology has the potential to truly advance our financial markets. Additionally, bringing tokenized assets into the U.S. financial system will allow greater access to the rapidly growing crypto capital markets. Unfortunately, the SEC's misguided SAB 121 uses an overly broad definition of the term crypto asset, which is defined as a digital asset that is issued and or transferred using distributed ledger or blockchain technology. This definition fails to differentiate the types of digital assets and leaves consumers to rely on lightly regulated foreign custodians. It's unfortunate that Gary Gensler is holding back tokenization technology with SAB 121. I'd like to use this moment briefly to call on Gary Gensler to withdraw SAB 121. I believe he's putting President Biden in a very difficult position on this issue. We have a tremendous executive order and continuous statements from the administration wanting to work with Congress on this issue in a bipartisan manner. And if Gary Gensler were to withdraw SAB 121, we could work in a bipartisan way on the custodial banking piece and these definitions that I think is so important. So that is my hope here. But on to the subject at hand. First question to you, Ms. Tesler. What are the challenges this definition creates with the adoption of tokenized assets in traditional finance?
So, as mentioned earlier, SAB 121 is very broad, the definition of crypto assets. So tokenized securities are recorded on blockchain. They are no different than traditional securities. Tokenized stock or a tokenized bond is still a bond or a stock when it's, whether it's in traditional ledger or a blockchain ledger. But the crypto asset definition potentially encompasses the tokenized security. And so this presents challenges from an accounting perspective and a custody perspective for market participants that would need to comply with SAB 121 until some change is effected on that front. I think it's important to remember tokenization does not change the nature of the asset.
Okay, there's so much that's there, okay? But again, your key takeaway should be tokenization over and over and over again. I'll be honest, you guys know me when it comes to chopping up videos. I like to chop it up after, the live show is done, maybe a day or two afterwards and so on. I try not to stick with things that are so time sensitive. This time around, I might not do that. I'll wait to see if, QP, Quant Papa, could pull out something to piece it together, if you will. Because it was disappointing, I'll be honest, to share a lot of this with you guys, especially with the digital dollar. I mean, we could talk about it, but, if somebody's going to be critical, they'd be like, well, hey, that's what I was tuning in for. And I get that. But for those who have been paying attention to this for quite a while, then you already know, So I still have a little bit more, and this is good, but we have to shift from the digital dollar to this next particular part. And what is that particular part? Well, this is cool. And I'm glad that this didn't at least get deleted. And I don't think it would ever get deleted because it comes from the IETF. Now, if you are new, this is the Internet Engineering Task Force. And I do want to share this with you because there was an update. And maybe this would get chopped up because, it's valid. Here you see it on the screen. We cite this quite a few times. So, Secure Asset Transfer Protocol, which is called the SATP. At the beginning of my outline, I had something that literally talked about SAT, which is Secure Asset Transfer, right? But this protocol, okay? So we know that Gilbert Verdian has heavy ties to the IETF. He cites them quite a few times. These guys basically are the pioneers of the internet from the days of not even Web 1, like pre-Web 1, when there was news groups, when there was, things like, some IRC. Shout out to any of you guys who used IRC back in the day, So pre-Web 1, and then they still have a say on what we're doing going into the era of Web 3. Do you know that there was an update even on their site, and this is why this is valid. Let's go ahead and full screen this. You will see that it was approved for a charter. Now it says Charter IETF SATP 01. What you will also see here that's interesting is when it gets into the whole topic of there might be several gateways representing the same digital asset network. It is assumed that the same peer gateways representing the networks are participating in the entire asset transfer sequence from beginning to end. What would be a perfect example of that from beginning to end? Well, Quant with the overledger. A key requirement for transferring assets in ensuring that the digital asset is valid in one network only at a given time. This means SATP must ensure that properties of what you see here, like consistency, isolation, yada yada, of the underlying networks are satisfied in an asset transfer. Right? So it gets into the the nitty gritty of the relationships with this, the working groups. Remember how many times I talked to you guys about working groups, but the key thing also is there was something new here. And what's more important is to see when you go to the next page of this that you see this. And when you expand upon that approval, what do we have? We have what is on your screen, and that is this active draft. Thomas Harjano, which as we know is part of Quant, Martin Hargreaves. Remember how Ned Smith even joined the group? I don't know if you guys know who he is, but that's okay. So this was updated was it like 4 days ago? 4 days ago. Okay. Internet Engineering Task Force. Look what it says. This replaces the draft that was originally written by Thomas Harjano for secure asset transfer architecture. All this is going to be the bombshell, in my opinion, is going to be dropped in about 3 days. Now, again, that doesn't mean that's utility in motion, but boy, oh boy, when you see all this being introduced, and even in those interviews from the House, seeing, talking about use cases, finally you even had Democrats on board. It's not just, Republicans, it's Republicans and Democrats are clearly starting to, coming together and at least seeing there's some use cases about blockchain and DLT, right? So when we talk about like the moments of regulatory, not just regulatory framework, but proper regulations coming, like you could finally see there's something there. That's the point. The other point is this document, how is revised? How you see that something's going to happen in 2024. But what is it? SATP architecture document. And again, back to what? Internet Engineering Task Force, Thomas Harjano. Boom, there's your MIT. Everybody forgets about that. All right? Internet draft. How earlier they're saying it's different stages of the internet. They're presenting this to members of the House, in this case, Democrats. Intended status, informational, Martin Hargreaves, and look what it says, guys. Look what it says. December 10th, 2024, from the Quant network. So this expires, this particular draft. They're probably updated by then. But look at all this. You have Quant network. You have Neil Smith. You have Intel. People forget about that. IBM. I'm not going to spill the beans today, but I do want to thank Quant Papa for this, and that is he's paying attention to some of the things I'm talking about. So tonight isn't BSV, but want to know something? For the first time ever, I'll give you this little tidbit, and I'll share it later on this week. For the first time ever, and it was recent, BSV, and you heard me right, Quant mentioned in the same sentence. I want to get more into that. Got to give you guys some more research in regards to that. But that isn't tonight. But we know that when it comes to this, IBM has gone gangbusters. They're all in for Casper. They're all in for BSV. But they're also all in for Stellar. They're all in for Quant Network. Right? Why is that? Because they want a seat at the table. Because guess what? Technically speaking, they were the table. If you get what I'm saying. And there's an abstract, and it talks about how they went from all these different things. But it's the evolution of the internet, guys. The Internet Engineering Task Force. Think about how that sounds. This document, BCP 78, the trust legal provisions. We talk about regulatory, framework and proper regulations. This is your legal provisions relating to an Internet Engineering Task Force document, right? It's this whole thing of Like, it's there. It's been there from when the internet first started. So why would they just disappear? No, they're not going to disappear. They're not going to disappear at all. In fact, they're the ones that write this. And if anything, it's these people like Nadine, right? This lady. I didn't get to the part where she spoke, but she too was at that hearing. That's the point. And that's what we need to understand. All right. So again, look at this SATP architecture document. This is how it all comes together, in my opinion. You know? And where do we really go from there? All right. Here's the final last two pieces. Back to the whole thing about the BIS. Remember how we talked about Finternet? You know, like I used to joke around, you know, F the internet, right? Well, it's called Finternet. Financial system of the future. In this episode from May 31st, which was over a week ago, Augustine Carsons will discuss a little bit more about this. Is everything you're seeing introduced all in the end going to come out in the wash with the Finternet, with the BIS? Could very well be. How so? Well, I've gone ahead and fast forward to this key part. I want you to hear this as well. I know it's kind of a big outline tonight, but it's been a while since we talked about Quant. Literally, I looked at the date. April 28th was the last time we talked about Quant. It's like, well, so many people forgot about Quant. Don't ever forget about Quant, okay? You know, your key takeaway tonight should be you might want some Quant, or you might want to hold some Quant. Here's why. But some of it, or most of it, got rugged, and I do apologize for that. You know, as a former school teacher, I hate the idea that if I'm going to present something, or if I have students that present something, you know, it's like my dog ate my homework. This is not a case of that. But this is the second time in over 2 years that I've been covering Quant, you know, something happens. And that is interesting. Right before, you know, I put out the, maybe I shouldn't take QNT, but I have to take it for people like yourselves that are tuned in, and we're almost at 300 tonight, which is cool, at 254. Maybe they saw it, and maybe they're like, man, this guy has access to these links, and we're just going to pull those links. I don't know. But that was crazy. And I had actual screenshots connecting everything. You guys know I do this. So I want you to hear this. It's kind of like a little podcast type thing. I know that I haven't been in the comments back, but again, it's been a long time since we covered Quant. And, you know, we talked about this before. Shout out to, you know, Channing Harrell. You know, some of you guys said, did you forget about him? I didn't forget about him. One thing I talked about when he was on that long 8-hour show was, you know, like even on the short end, at the height of the bull, if you look at the last bull run for Quant, you know, we're sitting at like $400 and some odd or something like that. And look where Quant has gone since then. This is a different bull run, but Quant has done huge things since last bull run. We are not at the height of the bull market. If you weather this storm this far, why wouldn't you want to wait until ISO 222 has a full mandate? You know, completely has that mandate. Is that the flip of the switch? Could very well be. I can't, I don't have a crystal ball, but to me that seems like it could be. Even on the low end, all right? I'm one of the few people who have stated this in the past. 6,000 per QNT, you know? That's on the low, extremely low conservative end at the end of this bull run. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's okay. This whole thing that content creators can't be wrong on anything, right? But want to know something? I've also been right on quite a few things when a lot of other people were like, man, you know, this one guy, what's his name? Ronbo. You might be listening right now, Ronbo. I remember you. Okay? Nothing against you. But, you know, pointing out, Max, it's your reputation. Don't you care? Yeah, I care. But want to know something? I stand by the research. And want to know something? JASMY did some big things. What about Quant? What about your Stellars? What about your XRPs? Are we just attending these live shows because it's just a cool thing to do? No, you guys are here for the real big picture. I'm in it with you guys. I'm in it with you all the way when it comes to this stuff. And I understand we get impatient. You have to hear some of this stuff. You'd be glad that you did. Listen to Augustine Carsons, whether you like him or not. And then this next part, which will be the cream of the crop, we're going to cite two things after this. We're going to take you to Alessa, which is a FedWire. Yeah, a FedWire citation. You're going to want to stick around for that because I know some of you guys like when we talk about big money, and this is not billions, this is trillions. And then after that, you'll finally hear the recording that, believe it or not, was ripped from the link that I was going to share you earlier. Thank God I captured that. They cannot take that from me, right? And I'll play the video format of that. I don't know if it'll be good enough to put this all together as one big, long, chopped up video, but my God, I was so excited to bring this research, and it would have been one of my best research outlines ever, but it is what it is. All I will say is this. If the research is getting rugged before the show, I'm a small platform, but still, I'm thinking they're looking at what if other people on bigger platforms could find it? And that event comes up in 3 days, and that could be a violation of NDAs, and I understand that. But nonetheless, we're going to play this. Again, smash the like. I really do appreciate being back here with you guys. I do miss some of you guys, and I do look to regularly cover stuff. I also want to just state this as well. I know that some of you guys have pointed out on YouTube that, you see the banner and it says Monday through Friday. I can't do Monday through Friday or Monday through Thursday anymore. What I can do is bring it to you when I can bring it to you. And that's just how it is. So if that's a disappointment, it is what it is. I work more than one job, and that's just how it goes. But anyway, enough about that. Full screen this. Listen to this for about roughly 6 minutes. Okay? Seriously, listen to this. Again, from an institutional side, these institutions, they get together and they play some of the stuff, and you don't see it on your typical YouTube channel, right? You have to go even deeper to find some of this stuff. So I will give you the citation on this real quick before I play. I do apologize. Hold on. You want to go literally the Bank of International Settlements, right? That's pretty simple, right? All right, here we go.
And the mental models that we arrived at were based on 3 U's, if I may put it. So the first U was user centricity. So how do we ensure in what we're designing, we're truly putting users, individuals and businesses at the center of their financial life? And this is extremely important because the rest of the technical frameworks and the legal frameworks that we develop will actually be based on this principle. Many a times we design systems putting providers at the center rather than users, and that makes a big difference finally in terms of adoption. The second aspect, in addition to user centricity, was how do we unify? How do you take an approach that allows you to unify across diverse environments, diverse asset classes, diverse sectors, diverse countries? And our view again as technologists is we can come up with a set of architectural constructs that allow us to unify across time, where different countries or different sectors may adopt it at different points in time. Not everyone is going to go live at the same day, at the same second. Yet when they do adopt it, the characteristics of interoperability and other safety-related elements are plugged in right in the start. And the third U that was most important that we felt was the idea of universality. So how do we ensure that the technology, if we really want this to be used, and we want the Finternet, much like the internet, to be made available to over 8 billion people and 300 million businesses, it's very critical that the technology is universal. The technology must be available to all, much like, as Augustine said, if you look at the smartphone. Many of you are carrying a smartphone in your pockets today. Many of you are regulators and policymakers in the room. As financial regulators, one doesn't regulate the smartphone itself. You regulate activities on top of it. If someone creates an application that starts taking deposits, one would get involved. So how do we create an approach where the technology is fundamentally universal? Because that will ensure inclusion. But we create enough tooling in the infrastructure to ensure that the flows, depending on the type of transaction, if it's a flow of money, flow of securities, flow of other types of assets, can be layered on with appropriate rules. So these 3 U's were central to the architecture. And now if I double click on this, what we realized was tokenization was going to be a big enabler. We saw the early wave through digitization. That's what a lot of us are familiar with. The financial system evolved from paper records to digital variants, and digitization was the wave that made that happen. But digitized copies, digitized systems don't allow for easy transactability. And our view is, given the way the world is connected today, we can imagine a leap where through tokenization, you can actually embed programmability into the digital representations. And that will unlock a lot of the transactability, which is a lot of the workflows and the use cases and the applications that all of us want. And a key part of tokenization is that different tokens, depending on their function, will be treated differently. So while the form may be the same, all of them are digital copies, digital representations. If they serve the function as money, you will have different rules than if they serve the function acting as a security, which sometimes gets mixed up. And so when we looked at applying this within the current system and layering it on top of the laws and regulations that exist and a lot of the digital infrastructure that many countries have built, what we saw is we could come up with an architecture, and I'll spend a minute just giving an overview of that high-level architecture, where we felt a lot of the custodians today, and this could work across different types of assets. You could have user-controlled assets. So these are, my own digital artwork, for example. You may have attested assets, artwork then attested by a gallery. Then you may have registered assets like a piece of property, land, a vehicle. And then you may have regulated assets like money, publicly listed securities, and so on. And this architecture can work for all four of them, where on one end, we imagine a world where a lot of the existing custodians can act as token managers. And therefore, a lot of the rules that today regulators delegate and enforce via these regulated entities would pass through, because they would issue the tokens using a set of on-ramps and off-ramps. When they issue the tokens, they will embed the relevant norms as part of that issuance. A user can tokenize a set of assets, but they could also de-tokenize, bring it back. And we felt that choice is critical, especially in the early days, to build trust. It's sort of like in the early days of digitization, you had people, who would digitize but create a physical copy because they needed that. And so you should have people being given the choice to tokenize, de-tokenize. When they tokenize, individuals can create an account on any public ledger of their choice. Into this account, different tokens. So it's not different ledgers, but a user can have their land token, their money token, deposit token, central bank money token, so on and so forth, all issued into that account. But of course, they're free to create other sub-accounts, other authentication and authorization workflows. And then through that, they can transact with anyone else using an ecosystem of applications. And so a lot of the projects, for example, that I heard about yesterday, very powerful projects that were being built within the Innovation Hub and within private sector, today often get constrained by silos. And if you go back to the smartphone analogy, you have the best-in-class entrepreneurs being able to bring different types of innovation to a common shared playground and create applications that serve all of us, that serve regulators, that serve supervisors, that serve individuals, that serve businesses. And we feel that opening up, where ledgers offer the programmability and other key constructs, will play a key role. And lastly, we do see this being supplemented by a lot of the trust, what I would call trust service providers. And so you will have attesters, guarantors, verifiers, essentially third-party agencies that would issue trusted credentials, trusted attestations that allow you to create these proof chains that you can then transact with. And to wrap up, as we sort of looked at this architecture, and we also reflected on a lot of the digital infrastructure that we've seen being built out, we felt there were three traps to avoid. And we might be able to avoid that. One is the trap of centralization. So many a times we think we can over-centralize, expect everyone to come to the same place. It's not going to happen in the highly diverse environments we will deploy the concept of the Finternet. The second is, how do you avoid the trap of synchronization, expecting everyone to be alive on board at the same point in time? And then the third is, how do you avoid the trap of over-standardization? So what are the most minimal standards, much like TCP/IP, which unlocked a lot of the internet innovation that all of us use? So what are the most minimal standards we need to arrive at, but then allow for different jurisdictions, different regions, different sectors to define their own standards, but yet create mechanisms for easy discoverability of those diverse set of standards. And so that's sort of the underlying thinking behind what we put together, and it would be great to get everyone's feedback on this.
Okay, so I realized that wasn't Augustine Carstens. I mean, he's in the picture, but if you're wondering who that person was that was actually talking, that is Siddhartha Shetty, okay? And he was discussing the Finternet, a vision for the future of the financial system at the BIS Innovation Summit. All right. I know so much that's presented, and a lot of times it just goes over people's heads, and that's okay. Okay, we're all human. The thing I want to jump back to that you heard Mr. Siddhartha, I don't want to say his name again because it sounds like I'm saying it the bad way, and it's not. Anyway, about the Finternet. So two things that he brought up was he mentioned like regulated policies and just, he mentioned regulated, right? I'm going to pull this up. This is from that recent post from the IETF, okay? So, we always piece things together. We always share some things about like, okay, here's what's, being presented to the House. And in this case, House Democrats, right? So, been there, done that. We talked about it tonight. Some of you guys might have watched it on C-SPAN if you were bored, all right? I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but let's just be honest. Sometimes, like, we could be on a work break or something like that, and it's just like, you're in the other room, and you see these guys talk on C-SPAN, right? And you hear them give the spiel, and it's like, okay. The key thing is, it's more than just like, okay. That step to get towards regulations. And that excites me something fierce because it's like, there will come a day where all this stuff that we talk about, Quant and the ISOs, you finally have their heyday. Okay. And some people, even investor places, pointed out, guess what? This will be the last bull run, because regulations will end the era of the crypto Wild West. We've heard this story numerous times. So again, back to this BIS podcast about the Finternet. Okay. And jumping back to this. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so you can see it a little bit bigger. Okay? Because I want you to understand, I guess you could say, the bigger picture. So back to this full screen data tracker, IETF. What do you see here? You see that there's security considerations. And most importantly, last updated 6/6/2024, Internet Engineering Task Force, associated with this particular milestone, July 2024. And on the previous one, it talks about how this was approved. But most importantly, is understanding, again, this security considerations. Because, like it mentions, and back to what you heard from Siddhartha, it's the whole thing of the increasing number of digital assets and how they become attractive to attackers, and how there could be like the whole thing of the keys being compromised. But bottom line is, like it says, gateways are of particular interest to attackers because they enable the transferal of digital assets to external networks which may or may not be regulated, such as hardening technologies, tamper-resistant crypto processors, et cetera, implementations of those gateways. Goes on to a little bit more about this. Policy considerations. Look at this. I mean, again, back to everything you saw introduced, the whole outline tonight. Digital asset transfers must be policy-driven in the sense that it must observe and enforce the policies defined for the network. Resources that make up a network are owned and operated by the entities, like legal persons, organizations. Again, this is why some of this stuff was mentioned in that meeting. These entities typically operate within regulatory jurisdictions. It is the responsibility of those entities to translate regulatory policies into functions on the network that comply to the relevant regulatory policies. Do you see how this is all coming together? And if anything, do you now understand, like, that's your aha moment? Because guess what? All that stuff was just introduced to House Democrats. And the House Democrats literally asked some of these guys, whether it is Nadine Shakur or some of these other guys from Securitize and so on, hey, I want to know a little bit more about the use case. Like I have my idea of the use case and so on. Where are we going to go in regards to the policies? So back to the Internet Engineering Task Force, they originally got this approval. It's right there. And again, if you're just tuning in, when you see this, what does it say? It says, basically speaking, that, I think it's on the other page. I'm sorry. That you have, yeah, here we go. Who? Thomas Harjano, Martin Hargreaves. Ned Smith is also part of, he was recently hired, was it last year, to Quant? So these guys are all part of Quant Network, and they sit with the IETF. That's the bottom line. Everybody asks, well, Quant's not going to do nothing. Bullcrap. The hell it's not going to do anything. They are part of that, people talk about the plumbing. My God. Boom. There you go. I mean, that is one of the best examples. All right. So we heard about all that. And you got the example from, these guys from the BIS. All right. So to give you a heads up, it's a little bit of notes, and I'll give you another citation here in a second. You might know about Fedwire, you may not know about Fedwire. The bottom line is understanding the bigger picture. And the bigger picture states that Fedwire, I know this is like, how did you go from Quant to Fedwire? Hear me out, okay? Hear me out. Fedwire is a U.S. network. Yes, you heard me right. U.S. network for large value and time-critical domestic and international payments. Now, some of you guys are like, I already know that. Well, some people don't know about that. Were you aware that it processes trillions of dollars, how often? Daily. Yes, daily. In 2022 alone, Fedwire processed roughly 196 million transfers with a total value of just over $1 quadrillion US. That's huge money. Okay? Back in May of 2021, you may think, why do you mention 2021? Because it's just the report. I got to go with what I got. Fedwire processed almost 16 million wire transfers totaling 75.6 trillion. Now I get it. This is no jab on anybody here. But when you hear talk, whether it's Quant, whether it's XRP, Stellar, some of these other ones, and you hear Brad Garlinghouse and he says, retail is not our focus. Okay? What disruptive technologies are part of this? Wire transfers totaling 75.6 trillion. Well, Max, all this DLT stuff won't have anything to do with that. You sure about that? Are you really, really sure about that? Because listen to this. Were you also aware that Fedwire's fund service is a real-time gross settlement platform? Yes, RTGS service that allows participating financial institutions to send and receive electronic funds, transfers, up to 1 penny less than 10 billion in value. What sounds familiar with that? Stellar, right? And again, this is not Stellar coach tonight, but it gets all in my mention. Why is that? Because we do have a report, and we shared this before, and anybody can Google this. Some people want citations, and I can't blame you. What does Stellar do? It does $10 million for 0.50 in a one, and anybody could go look that up in USDC, right? But the equivalent value of 10 million. Wow. Does that kind of add up towards the whole thing of the Fedwire fund service? Yeah. These transfers are immediate to participants, final, and, basically speaking, you can look more into it. On top of that, Fedwire only operates, this is a good tidbit. Listen to me on this. Seriously, I'll make a good point here in a bit. Fedwire only operates Monday through Friday between 9 p.m. Eastern on the prior calendar day to 7 p.m. Eastern. The Fed may extend its hours, and the system is closed on all federal holidays. What was being introduced, okay, at the House, I don't know if the Senate was there as well, but, don't quote me on it. But the point was being introduced to House Democrats. Did they not mention 24/7, 365? Yes. So understanding the shift of supply and demand, and understanding if you go deeper into some of this stuff and you go to the IETF website and you literally see the names of Martin Hargreaves and Thomas Harjano and, Ned Smith, for crying out loud, and it's like, we already know Gilbert Verdian's background with the IETF many years ago. And it's still like a great thing that he still has going on. But again, guys, come on, Quant Network, that's huge. Now, for the actual citation with the real site. Check this out for a second. At least I still have this. At least this didn't get pulled, right? So I'm going to drop this in the comments as well. We're going to pull up Alexa, Fedwire, what you need to know. What do you need to know? All right. So this is zoomed in for the most part. This is good stuff. I know this is extended coverage tonight, and that's fine because I haven't been with you guys for a while. And you know what? Darn it. Let's go, baby. Right? Alexa.com, Fedwire, what you need to know. Back to everything I just talked about, right? Yes. But it's more important to know the important for compliance, right? More importantly, message data. See how this is all going to come together? ISO 222, that mandate. And I'm more interested in mandates than things going live. Things going live give people the option. It doesn't give them, mandate is the flip of the switch. I'm just going to call it. I just think that's just my opinion. I think a lot of people agree. But look what it says. Understand the flow of funds more effectively, right? We understand what a wire transfer is. We're not going to get into that. But it's message settlements. Any electronic transfer, whether a wire transfer or some other type, has two primary components, the message and the settlement of the payment. The concept is important to understanding how the difference of wire transfer systems operate, including Fedwire. What about the next era of this, guys? What about the next era? Again, if you don't understand where the writing is on the wall and understand that we are going to this next era, I don't know what to tell you. Because it literally outlines this and outlines, for example, the history, the Federal Reserve, all this stuff. But, again, another honorable mention, like what it says about in regards to automated clearinghouses. Do we not understand how big remittances will be, and especially Stronghold? I mean, I know I should have tagged all that stuff tonight, but it is what it is. Cash and coins, securities transfers. Again, back to that interview. What did it say in that interview when this was introduced to House Democrats? It said, quote unquote, we have the ability to tokenize securities. Okay? And if anything, what about what's going to be settled? Security transfers. They said it's all the same anyway. Literally, that lady said it's all the same. Well, then if it's all the same, what's the next era of all this? That's the bottom line. Just a tad bit more about this. Talks about, for example, give me a second, a master account. Look at this for a second. Master account is what's commonly known as institution's Fed account. Identifies primary routing transfer number, right? Federal Reserve maintains a free online searchable directory, institution's RTN, called the e-payments routing directory, right? That routing directory, we talked about this before, being connected to a unified ledger, and the next step, and again, I know some people just tuned in, universal wallets. So do we get a big update in regards to some of this? I think we do. I think we really do. And it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. If I'm not with you guys on, what day would that be? Yeah, coming up on Thursday. I mean, I think I should be. I don't know. But do yourself a favor. You're a hardcore quant fanatic or even ISO. I'd be paying attention to what is being introduced in London on Thursday. And there's plenty of sources. Shout out to people like Tokenizer, Encash Official. Whoever covers quant really gets into the nitty gritty. Or some of the ISOs in that regard. There will always be at least one person that will tune in tonight when this is on the replay and say, the price doesn't move. My God. Are you just into this whole thing for meme coins? And I get it, guys. We can make a ton of money off of meme coins, and there's some that, have really done well. Shout out to Byte, right? I cover Byte. It's up like over 150% today or something like that. That's cool. Not complaining about that. But anyway, I just wanted to present this to you guys. I'm telling you flat out, it would have been awesome. And I am extremely disappointed in that regard, because I had screenshots and literally, boom, this is Quant, and blah blah blah. But things like that happen. All right, so yeah, Quant 86.99 right now, looking juicy for a DCA. Thank you. I'm gonna get back into some of the comments. I know I took a long pause on that, but I just want to recognize some of you guys because you do rock. And I wanted to get into some of that. I will give you another report on something else in regards to swing trading. I might give that to you guys a little bit later this week, and then I'll show you my journey and how that's working. Okay. All right. So let's see here. Earlier, I was welcoming some of you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, Dawn. Maybe you do appreciate what I did share, but I'm telling you flat out, it would have been some of my best research ever. Tonight's not my best research ever. I am my own biggest critic, but I try to at least do the best with what I had, but it was pretty solid. I would definitely, I'm sure Quant Papa will watch the replay because he always watches Quant, but I mean, man, over half of my research was rugged. And I know I said that 1,000 times, but when you're the one presenting it, it sucks. It sucks. Here it's like, let's go, baby. And then I have all my, I save all my information. And then I have my little document and it had it all. And then each tab, content has been removed. Content has been removed. This has been removed. This has been, I'm like, uh-huh. And I'm thinking, and this things come up in 3 days. That has to be it. I don't have a 100% answer, but that has to be it. Anyway, I do thank you guys. River, it's good to see you as always. And Don, hope to see you again. Maybe next time I'll have all the raw research and won't be rugged. It is what it is. Stump Rider, I don't know if you're still here, but welcome. Some of this is really late. My bad. 6:44. Buy it up 130%. Yeah, I saw it was at 150, and then I had to pull back. But JASMY has your whole undivided attention. I can't blame you on that, man. I mean, it's my top performer of this year. I'm really happy about that. Bullish Choices, welcome back. Welcome back. You don't have any? It's so cheap, man. I mean, I wouldn't buy it right now, though. Wait for the pullback. There always will be a pullback. I don't care what anybody says. There's not a single crypto that just goes nonstop parabolic forever. Everything has a pullback at some point. All right. Yeah, I agree with this. Thank you for that, Humpty. All right, let's see this. Did you see Ripple gave Japan and Korea 1 billion XRP to build on the XRP? Yeah, he sent me the link in regards to that. I'll try getting that some other day. I got it. I'm already gone like about over 2 hours. I'm trying not to do like 2 or 3 hour shows all the time, but tonight's an exception because I haven't been with you guys in a while. Always good to see X marks the spot. Not selling one Q&T until 2030. I mean, that's a good way of looking at it, But good to see X. Luis, welcome back. Hey, thanks. Appreciate that. I also see that, you comment over on Channing Harrell's channel, which is cool. Channing did send me a message the other day. He was just checking on me. Some of you guys did check on me, and I do appreciate that. That was very nice. Some of you guys sent me DMs and texts. It's cool. I just needed to, take a brain break and so on, and, just other things outside of crypto. Let's face it, guys, we're all going through something, so I'll give a shout out to Mind Crypto. Give a follow to Mind Crypto if you're not doing so. You want daily quant coverage? You follow him. He sent me a message, and to believe it or not, his message and him tagging me on something, yeah, it was from the old channel, but it inspired me to come back and get back into the swing of things. So, sometimes you just need to hear something like from another community person, but Mind Crypto is awesome. I have nothing but love and respect for him. Give him a follow. That guy deserves your follow. That guy's got alpha like every day. I don't cover quant every day. I used to, but there's so many other things to talk about. But he talks about quant every day and he brings it. So if you guys aren't following Mind Crypto, give him a follow for real. If you guys see, I don't know if he does a live show. I don't think he does, but I know he does a lot of recording. If you see him on X, just follow that guy, man. That guy's awesome. All right. Let's go further down. DTCC will be huge for Quant and XRP. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about a person's necessarily, people joke around about Dean. Come on, it's her background, and she gets it. And to fast forward on that part on that interview, I mean, come on, guys, Stefan Eckel caught it word for word of what Gilbert Verdin has been talking about for over 3 years. Right? That was really cool. I said that. Oh boy, that's from hanging out with Michael Cornwell too much, right? Not in person, but Elon Musk, right? He always jokes about that. So a little of the DGen talk. That's all good. We're having a good time. Hello from Colorado. Well, hello to the corner border state of Colorado. I'm in Arizona, right? So shout out to you, Joe. with your trail bike. Man, that sounds like fun, man. I love trail bike riding. I've done that for many years, but it's fun. Sean Francis has the meets. Hello, Max. Thanks for the link info. Yeah, it would have been better, but you're welcome. You're frustrated a bit, tired of real estate. Hope Stellar and Quant can materialize. Just you gotta, weather the storm and hold. I mean, maybe you don't like hearing that, and I understand some people don't. I think another thing I've noticed. I just want to state this. So when we talk about previous cycles, some people, like you and myself, I'll say like 4-year cycles. What are we really referencing? Referencing like BTC, and shout out to like Digital GG. You point out like, well, that was previous cycles. This cycle, you have ETFs and stuff. Great point. But my thing is that I've also discovered on many alts, it's not necessarily so much about the 4-year cycle, but the last cycle. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself. Hear me out. It's not 4 years. It's more like 5. I noticed a lot of things from like 2019 that was like all-time lows. And then to see where some of these things are at now, like XTC, like sitting at like, three or 4 zeros in a number. And, like right now, it's like a lot of people are like doubting XTC. It's like, are we at, this mass adoption? Brad Garlinghouse had an interview. I don't know if some of you guys saw this, but he talked about, his outlook. He was like, in reality, he looks at it as like, it's 5 years for mass adoption. Some people don't want to hear that. They just want 2025 and so on. But this is why I'm diversified. There will be some ones that will pop off really nicely by the end of 2025. And there'll be some ones I still will keep. And there will be ones that I don't. And I'm sure hoping that some of you guys have a strategy. And I understand for a lot of us, you're going to wing it. And it is what it is. But for me, my strategy is not to necessarily wing it, but I get it. All right. Hey, .biz, I'm glad you caught that. That's cool. All right, Richie Rich, so busy watching the Oilers game. That's at 7:33. That's about almost an hour ago. My bad. Well, cool. Well, glad that you're here, Richie. Rich, welcome back. And N, thanks for your big job. Undervalued. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. I don't know if you're still here, but thank you. All right, Kenneth Robinson, welcome back. XXI Gaming, welcome back. I don't know if you're still here, but good to see you, Brandon. All right. Dollar is going to collapse 2025. I've seen a lot of prophecies on it. I don't think it's going to fully collapse and lose all its value. I just want to state that. That's just my opinion. I get where you're coming from, though. But, like, full collapse is one thing. But I get it, guys. I totally get it. It's like, it's got to do it, right? It's not backed by anything, Anyway. Yeah, I have the tweet. And it's not just a tweet from just a random person. It's actually a tweet from a certain company that mentions them both in the same sentence. And I want to elaborate more about it. And hopefully it's not a circumstance where, that gets rugged. I don't think that's going to happen. But anyway. You mean XAI, don't you? Elon Musk is rumored to be involved in XAI. There's a lot of rumors on a lot of things, right? Anyway. All right. You guys talking about Augustine? That's funny. Naturalis, thanks, Max. Respect your honesty and work on this. Yeah, you're welcome. It could have been a lot better, but it is what it is. Do appreciate that. If I'm looking the other way, it's because I'm reading the comments. So anyway, dinner write-offs. Hey, Corey B-Bay. Good to see you again, man. Thanks for your time, Max. You are appreciated. Well, you're appreciated too, Corey B-Bay, aka Just Me Little Scam. Let's go. All right. Let's go further down. Jack Thompson, China's opening again on crypto is common sense because of BRICS. This could accelerate the digital markets considerably. Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of recent talk about, what the BRICS are doing. Russia and China, not throwing out any warnings anymore. That is, what's his name from Redacted? Sorry, it's a little late in the day. Been up since super early, but Clayton Morris, right? You guys ever watched Redacted? Great show. He was talking about how China and Russia, they're not throwing out warnings anymore. That ship has sailed. They're just doing what they're doing, and yeah, action and reaction. Yeah, Augustine Carson is definitely packing a lot of QT for sure. Like a lot, yeah. Yeah, a lot. I agree. He needs Proton. Yeah. XPR. I know a lot of you guys want me to cover XPR. Trust me, I'm fully aware of it. There's only so many things to cover. And there's so many things like I'm even behind on. Like I think like the last time I covered XDC was probably when Tokenizer was here. How many months ago was that? You know, it's like I do try to keep up with it all, but there's just a lot to cover. The guys that like I don't know are able to cover everything in one day. It's like man, they just. I mean, that's cool. I'm willing to bet that some of these guys, it's just like crypto content creation is their full time job, and you know, it is what it is. That's cool. You know, I'm not at that stage to be able to do that right now. All right, let's see here. Dennis Lil Bis podcast available in video. Yeah, YouTube channel. You're right about that. All right, John Francis says he likes QNT, has a good feeling about that project. At this point, if you really think about it, I mean, QNT is more than just a project. I know I always call it project. I look at it like QNT, the overledger. That's the product and service, right? But that's a good way of looking at it. All right. You think QNT could be like ETH and even better? Oh, yeah, way better. Not going to miss on this. Back in 2019, you had 22 ETH, but then you sold them way too soon. Well, it's part of that journey, right? All right. 86 and 99. Yep. All right. Let's go further down. Max, we like quality over quantity. Oh, well, thanks, Jack. That's a nice compliment. Tony Starks makes you feel he's the coolest cat with the heart of steel as Iron Man and Joseph. All right, I'll stop it. All these people worrying about the price moving, and I'm accumulating on the dip. Great way of looking at it. Right there, it makes you officially Iron Man, right? But welcome, Tony Stark. All right, Max, did you check out XR? Yes, you better believe it. I did. And I'm actually looking to buy some probably tomorrow. Yeah. Unless the price is way up. I don't do that. But, you know, within the next few days. But yeah. Yeah. I look at that one as being like a lottery ticket, if you will. You know, and I get it. There's some people in our community, like shout out to Dip Metaverse. You know, he's not a big fan of it and so on. I could have sworn he mentioned, you know, like he just didn't like what was going on with it. But I look at these as being crypto lottery tickets. And I know some people are like, well, isn't all this lottery tickets? Well, to a sense. But if you look at XOR and you look at from the perspective of like where the price, like, oh my gosh, I mean, you know, not that long ago, we were at all time lows. And, you know, it's understanding it's like that's Southeast Asia. Let's just be honest about it. And they have their timing, you know, and some people may think that, you know, XOR is a rug pull, but it definitely has some use case and it could very well just go through another cycle. And I'd rather bet on that. My thing is this: once in a great while, buy a lottery ticket, like a real lottery ticket, you know, like a Powerball or, you know, Mega Millions, stuff like that, or even local state lottery. But it's just like, you don't hit the lottery, like that number on that day is invalid forever, right? But with some of this stuff, it's more like, I mean, it's just, you can have a lottery ticket that your number will eventually be called on a different cycle again. I mean, how cool is that? I kind of look at XOR on that, and maybe people don't like me saying that. It's just, I'm fully aware that I need to have some of that, and it's a little bit of FOMO, and I'll be honest. I don't FOMO into a lot of things, but I have looked in more into it the last month and a half, give or take. I won't mention who introduced this because I want to respect that guy. He told me not to do that. But, you know, yeah, I'm fully aware of it. And I did check into it and very convinced on it. And maybe we'll get more into as far as like covering it, possibly. I don't know if I do like a super deep dive. You know how that goes. I mean, like recently I introduced LYX and then, you know, kind of slowly getting a community there, and that's cool. But it's just time. There's only so much time in a day, and you know, I'm doing about 7 days a week right now. So, in regards to work and whatnot, right? Not just one job. All right. Dennis Leal, crazy how no coverage in mainstream media of Saudi Arabia petrodollar agreement ended yesterday. That's a great way of looking at it. I'm glad you're paying attention. All right, your specialty is deep divus. Thanks, man. All right, River, what are your thoughts on XCN, man? I talked about that a while back. I think I did like I think there, if you go to the video section, I did one deep dive video, and it seemed like it was more than good. Am I personally invested into it? No. I think at that time I allocated more money towards some other projects and so on, but you guys will be fine. I just want to state this, right? Like I mentioned before, there's going to be things that I'm into that you guys aren't, and vice versa. And that's probably one example. Um, my thing for me is, and I do think that's a good project. Don't get me wrong. If I didn't, I would have never done a video on it. But the way I look at it is, it's like you can be stretched too thin, and I'm even guilty on some of this stuff, not all of it. Like obviously JASMY, no. Like I hit my goals on that a long time ago. But Casper, I'll be honest, I am too thin on that. I need to stack on this. Casper's a freaking buy right now. Like 2.5 cents, give or take. I could use some more XDC. I could use more H bar. Some people might say you use more H bar. Like you got a good amount of H bar. But my point is, it's like there's so many things that are still on sale, and then what happens when they take off? Like for me, I always thought that I came in too late. Just hear me out. I thought I came in too late when it came to LCX. Just to look at LCX real quick. And that's another thing. I mean, hopefully we have Rue Black come back maybe this week. Who knows? I got to get back in touch with him. Because, technically it would have been last week, but that's come and gone. But here's the thing. So let's pull up LCX. Z Liechtenstein. All right, let's see here. Yeah, my average buy price was like 8 cents, and basically speaking, when you guys were first talking about LCX, like I think like Mike Cornwell back in 2022, I mean, what was LCX, like 2 cents? And so then when I came in, there was a long period where it's like, man, I'm not in the profits. I am, I'm in the red. And then boom, it took off, and it's like, I mean, I see my LCX bag as much as 5K. I mean, it's at like 3,500 right now, but I'm close to like 15,000 LCX. That's not me bragging. I'm just saying some of you guys got way more than that. But my point is that this attitude, whether it's me or anybody else, that sometimes we think we're entering into a project too late. Thank God I still went with my gut, because I remember that whole flood of LCX. I know you're asking about XCM, but I'm just trying to give an example. Always go with your gut. And, I think this is a great example, because I had for the longest time, I'm like, man, LCX is not doing all that great, blah, blah, blah. And then I researched it more and more and more. And I was just that conviction of like, you know what? If Binance was able to do what they did, these guys were originally partnered with Binance, and I look at, I'll just say this for the record too. I look at LCX kind of like that will be your institutional exchange. I think that's a good way of looking at it. Like if, Binance is still the world's most popular, most used exchange. And, even here in the United States, even though it's not a U.S. exchange, let's be honest, but, crypto.com is everywhere, commercials everywhere in the United States, right? Crypto.com arena where the Lakers and the Clippers play. It is what it is. I mean, Uphold is in the United States and also the UK. My main key thing is that it's understanding when we talk about this flip of the switch with ISO 222, November 2025, could that be the big moment for like things like LCX? Could very well be. And here's the point I want to try to make real quick. And I will wrap this up because I need to get going too. So we always talk about like supply and demand, action, reaction. I don't hold this coin, but I'm more than aware of a token or coin called Jupiter. Some of you guys are invested into Jupiter. I've known about Jupiter for the longest time. I wanted to go with my gut of you should pick up some Jupiter. It's super cheap. Go with it. Why should why didn't I go with Jupiter a long time ago? Why should have we, why should have we, excuse me, why didn't I go with Jupiter a long time ago? Why should have we, why should have we, like, excuse me, why didn't I go with Jupiter a long time ago? Why should have we, like, excuse me, why didn't I go with Jupiter a long time ago? Why should have we, like, excuse me, why didn't I go with Jupiter a long time ago? Well, there's other opportunities. But check this out. Exchange tokens will always have, to a degree, a certain amount of demand, you know? I mean, for real. I mean, look at Uniswap. You look at, heck, even KuCoin token. I wouldn't go with Bitmart because Bitmart sucks. Let's just be honest. But Crypto.com will have its heyday at the height of the bull run again. I mean, I know it sounds like a lot of predictions, but I'm just basing off of previous bull markets, and just some things just simply make sense. Jupiter simply makes sense. How is that? Because the reemergence of Solana. You know what I mean? And look at Jupiter, how many pairings you have, like market listings, meme tokens, or even utility-based ones. And how many times do you see Jupiter paired up with it and so on? So it's like, yeah, exchange tokens do have value. So I'm betting on the exchange token of LCX for institutions when this thing goes gangbusters. I just think that is still a sleeping giant. And I know that has nothing to do with XCM, but that's just the point I wanted to get across. All right. Zora will wake up like JASMY. That's a great way of looking at it, yeah. All right, Jax Thompson. They made it look like that way. Max on pure. Your prediction on Quant low. That's very extremely low. When I say like extremely minimum at the height of the bull. I'm just trying to be more than fine on that. Anyway. LLC 24. I think you said you meant LCX. Yeah. Good night, Channel and Max. All right, take it easy. Yeah, not the best show I ever had, but research got rugged. It is what it is. We're gonna end the show. Thank you for being here, you guys. I should be back with you guys tomorrow unless something happens. Let's just be honest. But Wednesday, Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Won't be here for that. If the NBA Finals are here, whatever game it is, Game 5, 6, 7. If it went to distance, some people feel as though Dallas is going to get swept. Whatever the case be, I don't know. I'm not rooting for that. I'm rooting for 7-game series all the time. But I'm stating this: I won't be here with you guys because NBA Finals. That's like that. NBA is my thing. So anyway, QT probably going to go to 1,500. I mean, that's being more than conservative. But thank you for that comment. Anyway, smash the like on your way out. And if anything, when I do come back tomorrow, it should be like some JASMY, maybe some other things like Stellar, possibly. But good to be back with you guys. I know I've been away for a while, but nice numbers tonight. I do appreciate it. So it was kind of like a homecoming, like a crypto homecoming, right? So cool stuff. And I'll wear a different shirt next time. I got a lot of compliments on this shirt, so I kept trying to press it and whatnot. People were like, "Hey, I like your shirt." So I was like, "Well, try to get like a couple more of these." So anyway, enough about my shirt. Sayonara from the Rice Crop Consortium. Know what you have, know why you hold it. The research trumps FUD 110%. When you come back, maybe tomorrow for some JASMY, hopefully you guys will enjoy the intro for some JASMY. Okay. With that also said, I will say sayonara for the Rice Crop Consortium. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Standing on the corners, walking, just driving some of the hottest cars New York has ever seen. From dropping some of the hottest voices rappers ever heard. From the ghost spot with the smoke, fleeing the murder scene, you know me well. From nightmares of a lonely cell, my only hell. But since when y'all brothers know me to fail? Heck no, we're all my brothers with the rubber grips for shots. And if you with me, mama, rub on your tits and whatnot. I'm from the school of the hard knocks, you must not. That outsiders violate our box in my plot. Let's stick up the world and split it 50-50, Let's take the dough and stay real checky, And sip the Chris and get pissy, flowing beneathly like the memory of my brother Biggie, baby. You know it's hell when I come through. The life and times of Sean Carter, brother, volume 2. Y'all brothers get ready. It's the hard knock life for us. Instead of treated, we get tricked. Instead of kisses, we get kicked. It's the hard knock life.
Oh my goodness. I just remembered. I remember like the video, the clip, the cream of the crop. It's supposed to rise to the top. You know? Man, I forgot the last part of the outline. So when I piece this together, I got it. I promised it. So there's gonna be at least somebody gonna be like, "Hey man, what about the audio clip?" Yeah, what about that audio clip? Scam. Stay tuned for some bonus coverage because I did forget the audio clip. What the heck, Max? Yeah, I know. See, that's what happens. When your outline gets rugged, it messes you up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and share this, and it needs to get shared because I went through a lot of trouble of making that, and it needs to be shared. So anyway, let's pull this up. Yes, it is how long? It's 2 minutes and 47 seconds. Okay, and when it gets pieced together, I'll do what I gotta do. Anyway, here's the last part. Here was supposed to be the finale for the Quant coverage. But, it is what it is. All right, so here is that last part as promised. Here we go.
And this unified ledger concept, which has now become adopted by the BIS, is really kind of like based upon the RLN thinking, which is what if we had this shared ledger, FMI, financial market infrastructure, on which there are multiple asset types, especially central bank money and commercial bank money. So UK, we've got a retail focus. BIS just announced Project Agora, which is a multi-currency use case involving 7 central banks. It's the Fed, it's the Bank of Mexico, it's the Bank of England, Bank de France, Swiss National Bank, Bank of Korea, and Bank of Japan, focusing on cross-border payments. And in the US, we just had announced something called RSN, Regulated Settlement Network, which is testing the multi-asset thesis. And in the US, just to kind of give you a flavor of what the experiment is there, the different assets that we're putting onto RSN are central bank money, commercial bank money, mortgage-backed securities, and US treasuries. If you think about it, in the US, all of those assets currently live in their own silo. Central bank money is in Fedwire. The US treasuries are in Fedwire for securities. The mortgage-backed securities and investment-grade debt is in DTCC. And the commercial bank money. Okay. And the commercial bank money is in each of the individual commercial banks. So we've got the UK project, we've got the Project Agora, the BIS project, there's the US project. If you look into Brazil, the Drex platform is essentially the same as RLN. It's wholesale CBDC, but the consumers actually integrate with, the actual use cases are operated in commercial bank money tokens. If you look at the CBDC pilot in Korea, it's exactly the same, wholesale CBDC and commercial bank money tokens. The recently announced wholesale CBDC pilot in Hong Kong, it's exactly the same. So what's going on? What is driving these developments? Well, number one, it's the recognition that public-private collaboration is required.
Should have shared that earlier, but everything got messed up. Thanks for your patience. Have a good night. Over and out.